Okay,
live.
so we live. We a bit early. I mean late on the later end. Can you make sure that people can give me a second? I'm gonna look up if people can hear me or not to prevent what happened previously from happening again.
I don't know, Omar. Maybe people enjoy that one.
Okay, so I hear myself. Say something, Weep.
I
Okay,
just
never
did.
mind. You don't need to. Oh, go ahead. Introduce yourself. How are you? What you been playing?
Uh, I'm okay. We've been playing. I finished Killer is Dead, the golden oldie from the past. Never finished that on PS3 because I had a bug that prevented me from proceeding. But I replayed it, or rebought it on Steam, and replayed it. Uh, yeah, it
Wait,
was a
didn't you
fun.
get the same bug?
I don't know if that's the trick or whatever, but I was able to proceed with the cutscene after that. So I guess that's fine. Oh no, I actually did repair some files afterwards. That because I did have a bug afterwards where the audio sort of cut in and out during cutscenes, but I was able to fix that with just using Steam's repair feature. Um, yeah, it was a fun, um, relatively short experience. Was one of the few Suda 51 games that I didn't. Including the Gigolo missions where you have to seduce one of the ladies of the game. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's quite fun. Also played a little bit of E7, but I got that one on GOG, so it doesn't have any dual sense support. So I think I'm gonna wait until it's on sale for Steam and buy it again because I really can't. I just can't with the 360 controller I got for PC. Like, come on, batteries just feel so wrong. Other than that, not much really. I'm currently continued with the second playthrough of Final Fantasy 16 because I figured I could play this while doing a podcast since I can pretty much set my brain on off basically because
Autopilot,
I
eh?
autopilot exactly because I already know the story. I just skipped all the cutscenes, just getting through it as quickly as possible. Um, I think I'm about to go to the time skip. So yeah, that's about it from my end.
Got you. I feel sorry for you with the Final Fantasy 16 round 2. Uh, Nate, how
Wow.
are you? What you been playing?
Yeah, I'm good. Honestly, right now I've been kind of all over the place, but and I'll keep it short though because I don't really want to talk about them. I'm too early and everything. But Armored Core 6 started that.
How
Um,
is it?
I mean, it's good so far. Like I said, I'm gonna keep it simple because I'm not that far.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Is it difficult?
um, yeah, it's extremely difficult. I mean,
Wait, really?
yeah,
I read that mod that mobs are the father mob, but the boss fight is difficult.
Well, it would still
Um,
make it difficult though.
no, no. I mean, it's still pretty difficult. Like you still gotta know what you're doing and balance your mech and stuff like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of stuff that can hurt you pretty badly, pretty fast if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm.
So
Where are you playing it at?
I'm playing on PC.
Okay.
Yeah, so 120 FPS and stuff like that. So, um,
Ooh.
but yeah, like I said, that's good so far. And then I'm just finishing up Assassin's Creed Origins, like a full playthrough, including all DLC. Um, and then that's what I said. Like I'm playing so much stuff, I keep forgetting what I'm even playing. I was gonna play Gears of War with Morgan last night, but her Google Play was messing up. She or not Google Play, but GeForce Now was apparently there's an issue with the Game Pass access through GeForce Now, and it was being weird. And Gears 5 or whatever is messed up. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I'm playing something else. I just can't remember right now, but that's the freshest thing that I remember playing was Armored
Gotcha. So
Core.
you've
So
been busy, 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 busy.
yeah,
So question.
basically
Um, when you play something and then play something else, does your brain need to recalculate what controller you need to be pressing, or it's automatic?
that's only if I leave one thing too long. Otherwise, I'm fine. Like if I play something for like a week and then try to go back to the other thing, then yeah. But if I'm flip flopping back and forth like throughout the day or once every 2 3 days, no.
Okay.
Yeah, it's extended
Um,
playtime away. Then it's a problem.
gotcha. What about you, Weeb? Do you have that issue or no?
Yes, same as Nate. If I do it, if it's too long, yeah, then of course I'll forget where I was. Sometimes I even have to sort of, if I'm early on in game, I might even restart it just so that I can get back into it and don't lose too much progress because it would pretty much stay the same just with getting back into it. But yeah, if I'm juggling between games on a very short basis, that generally is an issue now.
Would you guys be okay with developers adding almost like um, a small tutorial where you was last time and or how the gameplay is?
So it's
If you
previously
ever
on. Yeah, I do. Well, no, I do agree with you that I've some games do have sort of the problem that they have like tutorials that they sort of bomb you with tutorials at the beginning, but then you can't really reread them at any point in the game, which is pretty stupid. So yeah, you definitely should have an option to very least read, what the like say the more complicated moves were, so you can always go back and see. Because yeah, I do have that with games that I haven't played in a while, and then go back to them, and then I'm like, okay, how the hell do I pull this off again? And sometimes they're very pretty much very essential things that are not very obvious, and you really need to read up or have like a tutorial or whatever to uh, remember, how you do it. So yeah, I'd agree that they should have a feature like that.
okay. Um. Oh, I died. As for me, I played. I'm playing. So I'm playing two games. I played a game called Dismantle. It is basically a post-apocalyptic world where you need to gather materials and fight zombies. It's simplistic, it's entertaining, it's a little bit addictive, and I started a game called Source of Madness. It, it's a Metrovania, not a Metrovania, a roguelike, and it's quite difficult. Difficult to control, feel a little bit off. Also, you need to make use of your bumpers and triggers instead of the normal buttons. Like, well, you jump with X, but square it does nothing. Triangle does pick up, and that's about it. and a circle gives you the ability to dodge. Um, I have a lot of games to a lot of games to play, but I'm right now just waiting on Sea of Stars to drop, so I start playing that game. Otherwise, I downloaded Destroy All Human 2. I would love to play that game. Or Sleeping Dog. I can play that game too. I played it beforehand and I love Sleeping Dog. Which boggled my mind they never made a second one. Sleeping Dogs was the only game to me that pushed did something different outside of GTA. Um
Like, it's better than GTA. I just said it.
I mean what makes it better is because of the hand to hand combat
Yep.
is
And driving mechanics
so
are better too.
good. The hand to hand combat is so good and the ability to be either good cop or bad cop was a fantastic addition to it. And it's got a great story as well.
Yep.
And the voice acting is also top notch, which again blew my mind. No part two. But yeah, also I played a game called Spell Force 3 Reforged, and it's a top down uh, semi RTS where you play as a part team of a party and you need to fight enemies.
Mm.
Uh, it's very interesting. I never played that game before.
Yeah,
It is
I know what it is.
it
Yeah.
is massive in the sense of like you need to be aware of the story. This is part three, so I'm not sure if what you call it. It have if the story is a continuation, but also you get to command a lot of people. You start with three people, but later on you command a lot of people, and I'm looking at it, and it's almost looking like I'm looking like a Command and Conquer game, but medieval setting and with magic and and stuff like that. But yeah, that's about it. Um,
By the way, I think Sleeping Dogs is technically a sequel.
for what?
I think that it or a spin-off or whatever from a is a franchise.
I know the franchise is what you call it,
That's
True
been,
Crime or
I was
something.
gonna say
true
you're saying.
crime. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of plays like one, but yeah, it was still like it's one of those like it's like I guess it would be considered compartmentalized like a offshoot of like Final Fantasy. Like it's unrelated. Like he doesn't actually talk about like they never reference um like the stuff that happens in true crime or anything like that. But it is very
mm,
similar. Um, it's funny you mentioned that because we were playing that. Morgan had never actually played that before, and I was talking to Sanctus about it, and she ended up playing it and beating it for the first time the other day, and she was saying how she would like if they made like a remake of it or whatever. She said she thought it would be pretty good because I mean it's still it's not bad, but obviously it's starting to get dated. Um, but yeah, I mean it was an awesome game. I mean I would love a new version of that, especially with GTA 6 seeming like it's not going to come out until next generation at this point. Um, so yeah, but yeah, I'm not sure if it's like a direct relation to it or whatever, but it does play similar. Like it seems like it could be. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed it. It does have that similarity where um, you learn the martial arts techniques and stuff like that, which was one of my favorite things about true crime. Like your character would like evolve over
and
time.
the moves that you do.
Yeah, like and the interactivity with the environment, throwing them in trash cans and all that stuff. Like the game was just really well done.
Yeah.
Again, boggles my mind that there was no sequel to it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The other thing to your, so the other question you had mentioned, I don't mind that, but the tutorial thing that you were talking about, but it would have to be. I just wouldn't want it to take like significant amount of time because I know something that seems like a little thing to add to us sometimes is like several weeks worth of like dev work. So like if it was just
Mm-hmm.
gonna be
Yeah,
like
but, but
yeah.
something simple like just adding a redo somewhere in the menu. I mean, that doesn't take any development time.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, well, I mean, he was saying after a certain amount of time, and I was like, well, who's determining the time? Like I was saying, now if you're just talking about obviously just like, hey, I can go into the thing and be like, hey, you know, please restart the tutorial and tell me like as I go along again. Like, I mean, yeah, that wouldn't take anything. But I was saying like specifically when he said like timing, like if you're away for two weeks, the game will notice that you've been away for 2 weeks, and then ask if you'd like to restart the tutorial. That's what I was talking about, like adding like a timer,
Oh
like
yeah.
an internal timer for the game to understand how far you've been or how much you've been away. Um, yeah, that's
Mm.
the part.
But even that, it's not that difficult, I'd imagine.
Well, the only reason I say that is because I forgot it was something super simple that uh, what this Deli had went over on Twitter, and he was like, yeah, I forget what it was, but it's like a feature like everybody wants all the time, and like and it seems simple because to us it looks simple, but he was like, yeah, that takes like he's like, yeah, adding that to whatever it was like a month or something, which a month is nothing, in comparison to 5 to 6 years of development time. But he was just like, um, it might not have been a month, it might have been like 3 months or something like that. I think it was 3 months, but it was something in the menu or something or another. I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was something that seems like, oh man, it probably just takes them like, a day or two, maybe a week to do that. And then he like the time frame elongated by like several months by the time he like explained, and he was like, well, you have to go in here, then you have to overlay it here, then you have to like calculate that, like, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But again, it
Okay,
also
yeah,
depended on the game.
yeah. I got you there. That definitely that's true. But I think in this particular case, I'm not sure if I was even asking for something like that, but uh, I'd say because the only thing that would what seems difficult is the timing aspect. But there's so many games that use like your internal system time. Like you remember Metal Gear Solid 3, where there's a particular boss that if enough time in the real world spent, he dies of old age. I mean that kind of thing is not that hard to pull off. Like it's basically just replay the tutorial or suggest that you have to can replay the tutorial if an X amount of time has been between the last time you've logged in. I mean, I don't think that's a very difficult feature. So
Yeah,
I
that's what
don't
I was
think.
saying. I think what they would do rather than even worry about the timing is just give you something like Armored Core right now has um, a built-in training session. So if I was gone for like 3 months and I needed to remember the basics, like I could literally just on the menu
Mhm.
when it starts up, click the button, go to sortie, go to training, and then go to basics training, go to the next training and the next training, and then like it would just take me through the basics like I just started again. So like they don't have to include anything extra. Like the training that's meant for you to be there and do it the first time is just always there and present if you ever need it again. I think that like a um, persistent tutorial or available
Yeah,
training, I
true.
think is what they would do, and that would just be the
Yeah,
easiest.
I agree with you. I don't think there's any need for a timing-based system. Just make sure there is something there. You can always go back to in case you need a refresher.
Agreed. But yeah, go ahead,
I
Omar.
have a question. How can I go to my media on PlayStation? Because I have literally 500, half a terabyte just videos I need to download.
You need to you need to go through your installed section and find the actual media app.
That's what I'm trying to find. The install.
I mean
It needs
you
to be
can't
by install.
you can't uninstall it. So
I found it.
yeah, I was gonna say
Media
it
query.
just goes further down the list as you go along. I honestly wish I
Yeah.
could pin it, but it's one of the few things you can't pin. Like you could pin games, but you can't pin that.
Mm.
But
Not Omar calling IT support when he's doing a podcast.
yeah.
Uh, um, wait. Why do I have? It
By the
makes
way,
no.
Omar,
It makes no
are you
sense. It shouldn't take so much space.
Yes, it does. Over time,
It
I think you have a lack of understanding about
no.
the
It
amount
this
of
is.
games that you play versus
It,
the trophies that get stored. Each one of them potentially have a small video plus
yeah.
videos
This
that
is
you
the trophy.
manually
guys?
record.
Guys,
Apparently.
shall we proceed with the podcast and do the tech support afterwards?
Okay. 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 So.
Oh no,
Let
I do want to ask you something, Omar. You said you were replaying Sleeping Dogs. Where are you replaying it on?
No, I am not replaying it. I have access to it. I'm gonna play it, but
Yeah, but
um,
where are you going to play it on?
PlayStation, dude.
Dude, you have a gaming PC. Play it on PC.
Yeah, but my PC is only when I don't have access to it.
Oh, yeah,
Man,
because Morgan bought it on
Yeah, more than
PlayStation.
have it, so I cannot play it.
yeah, that game, like, I bought it dirt cheap. Like, you can get it for I don't know, €2 or something in a Steam sale. Do yourself a favor, if you're gonna replay it, play it on Steam, not on PlayStation. You want to play this game at least in 60 FPS. It's not the
I
same
mean,
experience.
you know me, I never cared for FPS, so there's about that. Um,
Well, if you play the game in 60 FPS and then you're gonna play the PlayStation version, yeah, you definitely care.
I really don't. But let's just move on. The first topic is I just saw it, which is the passing of the original voice actor for Harley Quinn.
Oh, really? Arlene
Yeah,
Sorkin guys?
give me a second. Harley
Oh shit.
Quinn. I'm looking at the article so I just saw her passing. Connor. I'm playing with Connor.
Yeah, yeah. I'm seeing it too.
I can you say his name?
Arlene Sorkin.
Okay, so she was the voice actor. Last time she played was in Arkham Asylum, I think.
Yep.
And yeah, rip to her. She is
Man,
dead.
that's that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just because
It's
he
she
popularized Harley Quinn.
not popularized, created it. The character didn't exist
I mean,
before
yeah,
she voiced it.
created,
She's the
and she
OG.
was so
Mm.
believable.
And the best one, yeah. I mean, everybody else is just a cheap imitation.
Um, so yeah, that's
Mm.
about it for this topic. Rip to her. Um, going to the first topic at hand. So this new game from EA called Immortal of Avium. Apparently, I haven't played it. Apparently, it's running at upscale 720p 60 FPS on PlayStation 5 and Series X, while 486p on Series S. So it makes a question: is this a hardware issue or is this an issue from Unreal Engine 5?
Uh, I mean, yeah, I was gonna say, The problem with that I notice right now, Unreal Engine 5 is actually, I'm not sure how much they actually tested it and what they've kind of gone through with it, but Unreal Engine 5 is actually pretty tough to run. Um, and I think it just kind of seems like they need to get it quite a bit ironed out. Like that, it does have some amazing effects and stuff that looks really incredible, um, but it really is a monster to run. And I say that as one of the main things that switched and got access to it first was actually Fortnite, which I was playing considerably when the update happened. And like per example, I was getting um, like a constant 165 FPS before that update happened on all epic settings, and then like all of a sudden I was getting like 70 FPS at max settings. Like that's a huge drop in frames for an update. I mean, and don't get me wrong, like it was an incredible update. Like the difference is massive. Like it looks insane, but it definitely feels like some serious optimization and certain things need to happen in order to get this to run more efficiently. And obviously anybody outside of Epic that's using it is going to, struggle with it a little bit more. And it just seems like there's a lot of things in it that are pretty graphically intensive and take up quite a bit of resources. So it's like if you're working with the new stuff, you really got to kind of decide what you want to include and how exactly you want to go about that to balance out the performance, at least until either Epic figures it out directly, or some other things. It's definitely still, uh, obviously you're coming out with this is the first non. I think this is the first non-Epic game releasing that is on the Unreal Engine 5, like fully. Um, and then, like I said, just from seeing how the game performance dropped drastically in Fortnite, which is their own game, and they're the foremost experts on the engine, and like even then, there's some stuff struggling. Like, and don't get me wrong, like I get it, like the game does significantly look different and better, but optimization has to be a key with it as well, especially for something like Unreal, which was such a popular engine for so long. Like you can't just like jack up the requirements mid gen and just be like, oh, well, sucks to suck. Um, but it also could be a matter of the team. I forgot who actually made Immortals of Avium in consideration. We got to really see like, after number one, Unreal Engine has had a considerable amount of time to be updated and optimized. Now that it's available and a lot of teams are working with it, um, versus kind of where everything is at with each team. So each team's talent. So I don't know how good this particular team is good at, balancing, the workload and stuff that they have. So it's like a matter of how good is that team versus how much did they struggle to get Unreal Engine 5 balanced, versus how much contact did they have with Epic to really help them balance it out. It's a lot going on, but it is really really intensive to run right now, and they're definitely going to need some significant updates to Unreal 5 to really uh, get it to run better on some of that hardware. Because obviously, my specs on my PC are in the sky compared to even most PC gamers. So the fact that I would drop FPS on something like Fortnite, this is again a misconception that I told people. It's like I know a lot of people don't play it, but the like Fortnite is a beast to run, and that's always been like the cute game, that everybody thought like, well, if I build a PC, I want to run that, and it's like, well, yeah, you can run it, but I think people are not really aware just how much of a beast of a rig you need to run it really, really well nowadays with the fully maxed out settings on, which is another reason why a lot of the times when you see professionals and stuff like that, a lot of them actually have the settings turned down because they never want to drop FPS. So yeah, I think it's a combination of both of them. Like I said, having experience Unreal 5 on other games so far, like I can tell it's just a monster to run, and hopefully it's just like that now, and that some updates to Unreal Engine 5 is really going to get the optimization under control, Cause yeah, like I said, it looks pretty. It's amazing. It looks incredible, but it is way too. It requires way too much horsepower to achieve that look by comparison to some of the other games that we've played that also achieve that look that are under different, um, different engines and are capable of achieving, uh, similar visuals without so much strain. But yeah, I think that's honestly what you're running into.
Okay. Um, do you think developers care, or is it like, okay, let's just push it out and optimize it later on?
No, I mean, of course, I think they care. But they only got a product when you're working with middleware, like Unreal or something. Like usually, it's because you either can't develop in house or you needed a cheap solution. And Unreal is typically offered at a very affordable rate for for developers in order to make these grandiose AAA games. So yeah, I mean, I think they care. It's just like I said, in the state that Unreal is in right now, it is just tough as hell to run. Um, and I think not necessarily them. I mean, I'm sure they optimized it the best they could, but trying to achieve the maximum visuals currently in the Unreal Engine 5 on top of optimization is just really really rough. And I like I said in Fortnite specifically, you can see what settings that you're messing with. There's one I believe it's called TSR, and I think that again I don't know because you don't see the settings in console, but when I turn that on, that's like the Unreal Engine's version of like image quality and like a certain global illumination technique and stuff, and it looks incredible. But that's what drops the frames a lot. So if that kind of stuff is being directly implemented in a lot of these games, then I can understand why the current gen systems are really struggling with it because even my PC being as ridiculous as it is, still, although I can play it just fine, still dropped a significant amount of FPS by comparison. So yeah, I
Gotcha.
think they care. It's rough, man. It's rough. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully it's a patch thing and an optimization thing from the Unreal Engine 5 itself is what I'm hoping because we did get significant improvements with Unreal Engine throughout 4. You had 4, 4.1, 4.3 or something like that, 4.5, and like it got better and better and better. So I'm hoping that that optimization will increase tons, especially with all the new tech, the FSR3 being introduced, and potentially being able to run on consoles with frame generation and a bunch of other stuff. So, but we'll see how that works. AMD likes to promise a lot and not necessarily delivers, so we'll see how that works in tandem.
Gotcha. Um, so yeah, let's move on to the different topic. Um, well, there's not a lot of topic. Um, Xbox dropped the parity for Series S. Um, Larian got almost like agreed with had a meeting with Phil Spencer at Gamescom, and the decision was made by Phil Spencer to drop the parity for Series S. Real talk, I'm happy for it, but it makes you question: is Microsoft not being able to get sued because they said stuff about Series S and now they're backtracking? And if
Those
they
can
done
make
it
an
with Larian, it makes you question how many other developers are gonna to do so.
Cut features.
Because here's the thing, Larian is not the only studio that's having issue with Series S. Um,
well,
apparently,
Omar,
yeah.
to answer your first question, no, they can get sued because it's not a legally binding agreement that there should be feature parity to the consumers for for the Series S. The agreement was with it was a requirement for Xbox that if you want to put your game on Xbox, there has to be feature parity between the S and the X. So you cannot leave out a feature. Um, that's but they are it's up to them if they want to, as they have done in this case, relinquish the sort of that control over what features they're putting on on both consoles. I don't know exactly if this means that this like a one-time deal, or if they are going to, if they don't just open the gates and said, okay, yeah, we no longer require feature parity, but you can be absolutely certain that it's not going to be the only game. If there's going to be another very popular game like Baldur's Gate 3, and it's going to get delayed for the Xbox because there are features that just don't work, like split screen on the Series S. Yeah, like hell, they're going to make a deal there, um, to make sure that they don't get delayed because there's a feature that simply doesn't work with the Series S. Um, but yeah, probably eventually, if they haven't done so already, they're gonna just let that go in its entirety. But I suppose they might want to have some control there, or not announce that, because they don't want people to think that the Series S will, by definition, basically, well, it's already the inferior version, but will not have all the features that are available for the X version. Um, and they want to have maybe some control there because you can maybe do without split screen, but they're possibly, if you, let's say, give them free reign, you could get like maybe let's say a game that does have multiplayer, and maybe they just drop the multiplayer entirely for the Series S. I think they might want to have some control there on what actually gets dropped and what doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be the thing, right? Again, this is something I have a more inherent understanding of because, again, Weeb, when you play on PC and stuff, you start to notice uh, things that you mess with different settings and stuff like that have an effect on your performance and so on and so forth, right? And then of course, things like the Series S having the unified GDR memory, has a really finite amount of memory to deal with, to really go around, and that's really what caused that issue. Um, with the split screen because it's untethered, and the further you are apart, the more it's got to render at the same time, and so on and so forth. So it was causing obviously a seriously detrimental issue. But what I was telling people as well was like, people were like, oh well, it's just a split screen because of that. And I was like, nah, there could be other features, because people were like, oh, it's not holding anything back. And I was like, no, there could be other features that certain companies want to implement that they may abandon entirely because the Series S just completely isn't capable of it. So I was like, but again, we're not going to know unless we're on that cutting room floor. And a lot of them, of course, are not going to really tell you or say anything. Like someone would have to come out that's on the development team and be like, well, we really wanted to include this incredible, ambitious feature where you used to, I don't know, jump out of the ship from space or something and fly into the planet, and we just couldn't get it to work on the Series S, so we cut it, and now when you jump out of the ship, there's a loading screen, and now you're on the planet.
Yep.
So it's like, I mean, to be honest, that could be one of the major things as to why that even happens uh on Starfield, the whole loading of the planet rather than you actually getting to see the landing sequence proper, and then the loading screens in between the different levels of your ship. Again, like we just don't know because obviously, on top of them being first party now, they're not going to really explain if that is the real reason for that odd limitation. But it'll also become very apparent, like Weeb, um, once modders really get a hold of it and really get in there and see what's happening.
Oh yeah,
You know, because if they can just simply remove it, and it's just like a constraint, it's going to be removed on PC very shortly. So I'm kind of hoping
well,
that's the case.
definitely the thing that we've always said, that series as the holding back uh, this generation. has been proven true. And it's not just like with this game that that they had to cut a feature for the S, but you've seen a lot of games, specifically Xbox exclusive first party games, that had features drop that were present in previous iteration of the game. And we now know that it's not just a matter of bad management, etc., which probably takes a role, or some sort of corporate decision. But
Yeah,
probably a lot of these games drop these features because they couldn't make them work on the Series S, and that's why they just said, okay, yeah, we're not gonna launch with those features, and maybe never get those features. And now we know that the S is holding these games back because they're cutting these features because they know they can't get it to work in the S, and they don't want to sell a game that has less features on the S than it has on the X, or on competing consoles if it is a multi-platform game. I
exactly.
mean, we've proven it. And by the way, Nate, I do resent the fact that you're putting me down as a console peasant.
Huh? No,
I
no, no,
have
no. I
owned
said, I said
I have
because you
owned
have.
I have owned PCs, man. I just choose to play primarily on consoles, but
Huh? No,
I
no,
know
no. I
exactly what
said
you're
we
talking
will
about.
understand. I said, yeah. I said you will understand because you also play on PC.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
but yeah.
nah. Yeah, yeah, nah. I know. That's why I said you would
Mhm,
understand
mhm.
because you have played on PC like me.
Okay, okay, okay.
So yeah,
I thought you were like
nah,
this very elitist PC, and also that's like
nah,
I
nah,
know
nah.
because I'm
What I
PC
was talking
gamer.
about, like
Yeah,
getting in and messing with the
yeah,
settings, like that's not something that console people will usually do because it's not
yeah,
really
yeah. No,
available. But you, I
yeah,
was saying, would understand because you know what it's like to get in
yeah.
there and turn this one setting off, and all of a sudden, your frame rate has gone from 45 to 80. You know what I mean? Like, so that's what I was saying. Like,
Oh yeah. Okay.
yeah. But I was saying,
All
like,
right, all right,
yeah, we won't
all right. You're
understand it.
forgiven, and you're
I
forgiven.
got you. I got you. Yeah. Nah, nah. That's what I was
uh,
saying because I was like on PC. I can tell you that when you turn this in this case when I was speaking of TSR on Fortnite, I was saying it significantly increases your FPS. But on console, I don't know what constraints they have from a developer standpoint to what they can and can't run. You know, so
yeah.
it's like TSR. If TSR is like a requirement per se, I can completely understand why this game struggles because that shit is super tough to run. So at least until they come out with another uh to the metal level solution or something that can really decrease the requirement for that specific setting. So yeah, it's up there.
Mm-hmm.
No, but by the way, didn't but how does the even run on PS5?
I mean, what you mean the Unreal Engine 5?
No, 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 because where wasn't were the issues on all were they on all platforms or just specific platforms?
No, no, he was are you talking about the for Fortnite specifically?
No, no,
What
we're
Omar
talking
was
about
talking about?
Immortals, right?
Yeah, yeah. So he was saying it runs at
Yeah.
like 700 on the newer, like the big boy consoles, um, and then it runs at like 400 or something on the Series S. So it's still significantly less, um, less resolution than it typically is for most games that run on those consoles.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but that's why I was saying like in comparison, I kind of get why that is if it's running the full feature set for Unreal because it's really really intensive to run. And that's why I was saying I don't know how much control they have over what they can and can't run when they're using the like the actual full engine and the API and so on and so forth.
Gotcha. Um, Apparently developers are having issue with the Series S, and this is not a Larian issue only. Um, Alex Donaldson said the absolute most common thing this Gamescom has been devs of the record absolutely slating the Series S. It's a great value little machine, but developer despise it, man. Epoch needs to think hard and fast about policies around making sure stuff runs on both machines, wherever they are, and considering the possibility of Series X exclusive features or even games. I feel the alternative is Sony hovering up more de facto exclusives where given the chance between dealing with Series S or skipping Xbox entirely. More developers choosing the latter. You can force the issue if you have the market share to be unskippable, but Xbox is not and does not. How many times have we said this?
I mean, we've said it for a long time. I mean, but again, I mean, this is a problem that was pointed out in the beginning with split SKUs having a weaker system. Like I said, all this could have been entirely alleviated this entire generation if they would have just come out with a discless Series X at you know 399. They could have even been petty, and put it at like 379 or something to try and undercut the discless or the digital PlayStation 5. They could have took the hit, for $20 and be like, we got the cheapest option, whatever, played the PR role. And I think it would have been an entirely different generation, but um, yeah, sadly they did not, and ultimately they can't cut it because the majority of the current sales for Xbox, particularly, are Series S consoles.
Yeah, yeah,
So
they are. They are. There are more S's than there are X's. Before I continue, give a big shout out to chat. Shout out to Morgan. She told me to play it on PC, talking about
Sleeping
Sleeping Dog.
Dogs.
Also, shout
Yeah.
out to Center being on here. Um, Going back to the conversation, I I am waiting. So we seen it. Uh, how do I say this? Apparently, there is a game, Lord of the
The
Ring
Lord of
game.
the Rings.
I never heard of it, but apparently this one
But
is
you never heard
also.
of Lord of the Rings?
Well, I think it is the game. Like the new, whatever the
No,
new game
no,
is, yeah.
I know, no, I'm fucking with him.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the new one
Yeah, yeah.
that's coming out.
He was messing with you.
Mm-hmm. This one is also coming later on Xbox, while on PC and PlayStation is launching day one.
Well, again, but the problem is that my real problem is that the perception from people, or Xbox fanatics, they believe it's some sort of, backlash or coup or something weird against them, and it's like, even though developers explain verbatim, no, it's because, there's developmental differences and issues that we're running into on the Xbox SKUs, and they need to launch on the same day across both of those platforms, so they can't just launch on the X and not the S. And it's like, there's so many people who think they know what they're talking about, and like, I don't know where this like bravado or um egotistical shit comes from these fans that haven't developed a line of
It's
code in their
lazy dev,
life.
didn't you know? It's
Yeah.
lazy dev.
Yeah. So they like to say. It's like these dudes
But
couldn't develop a registration program, that could type your name out and your date of birth if they had to, but they're gonna sit up here and tell people who are in the profession and have been programming and developing games for as long as they've been alive that they're lazy and don't know what they're doing and don't know how to work with the hardware that's available to them, and tell them, it's more than enough power. You guys just don't know what you're doing. And it's just this whole, honestly, it's annoying because I think, as this is a discussion that I had with Morgan at one point, where it's like, me and her specifically love to get the details about uh, gaming and game development and what's going on. And it's like, as these people backlash against devs and stuff, they're just going to want to give us less and less information into the insight of what's going on. And I would too. Like, it's like, all right, motherfuckers, well, I'm not going to tell you guys shit, we're just going to make the announcement. We're not going to explain anything. And then this is just what it's going to be, And it's like, and I get the frustration from developers because it's like when you're open and being candid and people don't like the answers, then they start making a bunch of assumptions, start questioning your integrity. Like that's a human thing. People don't like that. Don't question my integrity as a developer when I'm sitting here busting my ass day in and day out to make the best game I possibly can. And then, you want to run your mouth on Twitter because, you're a fan of whatever plastic box and you think that we're sitting here knowingly sabotaging it. Like, come on, man. And they swore up and down, like, the way they were talking shit about Larian Studios, who again is one of the most talented
I think
independent
they
studios
ever
on the
developed
planet.
a game in their entire life.
I mean, but they
Develop,
haven't, and we know that. But it's like you're sitting here trash talking people who have award-winning, top-tier development talent. Like I said, like Larian, and they were trying to shit on them, and then Microsoft had been working with them for months trying to get it done, and Microsoft couldn't get it done. So it was like
yes.
you're over here trash
So
talking
if
Larian,
Microsoft
you know.
if Microsoft couldn't get it done, are they lazy enough too? They
Oh yeah,
didn't think
they
about
are
this
lazy.
one, did they? At the end of the day, this is why developers are not gonna come out and actively say they have an issue.
Yeah, I mean,
They
it'll
would,
definitely be more hush hush going forward.
they, one, people aren't gonna believe them. Two, they're gonna say lazy dev. And three, I think they would be flat out blackballed by Microsoft.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're not even allowed to be honest anymore, because of a very obvious issue that everyone's pretty much aware of at this point. But again, people are just it's always this effort to cover it up, right? I was listening to something where K Mega was speaking the other day, and he was even trying to tell them like it's not a matter of the fact that the Series S can't do it; it would just take more time. And I was like, no, dude, they didn't cut it from the game because it would just simply take more time. The more time was an indeterminate amount of time because they literally could not get it to work. And then Microsoft had came in, worked with them for months. Like Microsoft didn't show up yesterday. Like that's what people were trying to act like. Microsoft showed up yesterday at Larian and was like, "Let's see what's going on. All right, yeah, this isn't gonna work. Let's cut it." No, they've been working with them for months trying to get it to work, and
Yeah,
ultimately they
I think
decided it's better to get the game sooner than trying to figure out something that ultimately most likely will not work, or it will at least be a lesser version than the other. Rather than creating a crippled version of split screen for the Series S to try to get it as close to feature parity as possible, let's just cut this entirely because it's never going to be able to get done because of the limitations of what's available at the hardware level. And it's like, it's just that simple. But people keep trying to sugarcoat it to try not, to scare people away from purchasing a Series S and whatnot. It's like you would think these people got stocks in Xbox. Like, no, everybody needs to still buy a Series F. If you want one, get one. And it's like, look, if you want one, do get one for sure. But like, let's not sugarcoat it and act like it's not showing, you know, the hardware limitations very early on right now. And that's what people just don't want to face because again, they see it as like an attack or something on Xbox. And it's like, no, dude, people are just reporting facts and game with like people are acting like it's a surprise that games are becoming, requirements are increasing the deeper we get into a generation. That's literally how it goes every time. So if you don't have whatever the current standard is, for the Series X and the PS5, then of course you're going to get a lesser version every time. But for them, they thought, hey, it would be 1440p, and it would just be a 1440p exact version of whatever was being produced, and that's just not going to be the
Hmm.
case. And now they don't like that because then you're getting, which we knew that early on. Again, this isn't a surprise. Early on, I told people when they had the 120 FPS version for Dirt, I think it was Dirt 3 or Dirt 4. I can't remember which Dirt we're on now. Dirt 5 or something like that. But the 120 FPS version, if you looked at the video for Dirt on the Series S, it the textures were so bad it looked like they didn't load. So just to even achieve that mode on the Series S back then on a driving game was that rough to achieve. and it was like, but people were like, "No, it's such a beast," and like people were just so steadfast on this, the 1440p beast, and I was like, "Yeah, it's not." And again, like playing 1440p on my PC, maxed out settings, I know that 1440p is not a slouch either. So I knew early on that it wasn't gonna be what they were saying. So yeah, it's just a matter of you're running into a bunch of people with limited viewpoints that don't want to accept the reality, and I mean whether or not they want to accept it, that's going to be the case going forward. So we'll we'll see what happens because things are just going to get more and more intensive because again it always happens, and this is something I explained to people from a PC, someone who plays on both consoles and PC. At the end of a console generation, I almost play like all my games on PC until the new console comes out and they finally get the updated
Trader.
version. Well, yeah, well, not, but it's just factual. So a perfect example, right? One of our favorite games, Borderlands. Borderlands 3 came out and performed like shit, even on the PS4. Like the best experience was the PS4 Pro, right? At the time, and even then, it didn't run all that well. The moment, but that came out at the very end or like the tail end of the generation, and so the performance wasn't really all that great. Then the PS5 dropped, and they came out with a PS5 version. Now it runs super smooth, 60 FPS. It's got increased visuals. It's maxed out, and like you get that refresh, and then everything's looking amazing again, and
I have
consoles
a
catch
question.
back up.
I have a question.
Mm-mm.
If the Series S is not holding developers back, why why next gen exists? Shouldn't we be able to play our games on the previous gen? We don't need a next gen.
Well, the fabled infinite scaling. You just got to turn the settings down, and you can run it on
Yeah,
anything. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Imagine this is the conversation I was having with Vitamin Jitsu. Imagine they literally said you can play Infamous Infamous Second Son on PlayStation 3. I'm like, have you seen the difference between Infamous 1, 2, and then Second Son? Like,
I mean, this is just a nature of people honestly just being facetious. They're being or malicious. Like they're they're being malicious on purpose. Like that's not the case. There are things like
no, they
this would be like
genuinely
us
believe
saying
it.
that you could play Horizon Forbidden West on like a PS1. Like let's be realistic here. Like you know, like this is that's the way people are acting. Like all you got to do is turn the settings down.
No,
Just turn the settings down enough. You
they
can run it on
genuinely
anything.
they genuinely believe that if you turn down the setting, it's gonna be fine.
Like
And here is the kicker:
you know,
most of them are PC guys. They play on PC.
well, and here, bear in mind, is the other part where I tell you, everybody that games on PC don't know what the hell they're talking about. I'll tell you that firsthand. Like, I know plenty of people that got the hardware, um, and don't know what to do with it. They don't understand it. Some of them just got the money for it, but yeah, just because someone plays on PC, they don't inherently understand it either. So yeah, you run into stuff like that, and then those people spread that information because someone asked that question the other day, about the split screen, when they were like, "Oh, you can run on like a lower setting PC, and you can run split screen for for not Divinity, but Baldur's Gate 3." And I was like, the fact that the person who asked this question, they got it from somewhere else because this was a narrative being spread on Twitter, um, that the PC that is the lowest settings was lower than the Series S. But again, PC and console are not equal. Despite them having a CPU, a GPU, and people thinking they have a similar architecture, similar does not mean exact, right? They're not built the same. There's a reason you can't have an exact PC of a PS5 or an Xbox or whatever. You can get close, you can get similar settings, but they just don't run the same. PCs, number one, do not have unified RAM. Like GDDR6 is not running up, down, left, right, and center through my PC. It runs through my graphics card, and then I have a separate 32 gigs of RAM, for my system RAM. Like it doesn't run the same. And this is a misconception again from people who often don't understand what they're talking about or get this information from people who have minuscule knowledge about PC gaming and then try to think like, well, if it could be played on this, then it should be able to play on the Series S, no problem. And it's like, yeah, it's just not the case. It's a mess, man. Too many
It
people, too
isn't,
many
man.
people trying to think they're developers, and clearly, if they had the knowledge that they claim, they'd be a developer, and they're not. So we know that's bullshit.
They even said that Ratchet can be played on PlayStation 4.
Which again, people were lying and being
We finished.
malicious with that because they're like, oh no, you just played on a faster hard drive and a system that's way more powerful than a PlayStation 4, and see, it plays just fine. And it was like, dude, the point was they said they couldn't do it previously, meaning the console they work on, the PlayStation 4, which had a 5400 RPM drive and a much weaker system than these systems people are running them on. People are running them on like these crazy rigs with like 4090s and even 4070s and so on and so forth, or 3080s, with crazy CPUs, modern day CPUs, and they're like, look at it running, and it's like, nah, even when that, which is, like I said, the only person who genuinely did the test was Digital Foundry, and you saw what happened. And at that PC, mind you, the CPU in that PC
Broke.
it's still more powerful though than the PS4. So it's still more powerful, and that shit, like it like died live on screen.
Yeah, they died, eh?
Yeah,
They literally said that system died.
yeah, it was
I
completely
think
unplayable.
they killed two, not one, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, they tried to test it multiple times, but it basically essentially locked up and froze up. It was unplayable. So like like I said, like again, that's another malicious intent thing that people tried to start. Trying to say that Insomniac or whatever lied, about what they said, and they didn't. Like, it's just the reality. And yes, the SSD is part of the reason, which is what he says in the quote, that they can load as fast as they can and create the performance that they did on the PlayStation 5. Nothing they said was incorrect. But again, people just trying to find a way to belittle, what a PlayStation first party developer stated. But again, that's funny. Pinocchio's on screen right now for Liza P for a second. That was funny. It was ironic because we're talking about people who are lying. That was just perfect timing. So all these
So
people are out here with these long Pinocchio noses lying on, one of the foremost developers on the entire planet, trying to tell you that they lied to you, and it's hilarious.
so
I,
speaking
you
of
mean lie
lying,
to kill?
Yeah.
I mean not that it's actually a lie of Todd Howard. Uh, and hey, you seen what's the news about Starfield now?
I mean, there's been a lot of news. So
I
what are you
mean,
referring to?
basically that at the beginning of when Starfield was revealed, Todd said that you can land at any place in the on the map on the planet,
Oh
and
yeah, and
now
now
they
now it's
said that you
it's
can only
targeted.
land at specific point of the map.
Yeah, yeah, they did. There's a lot of stuff that they've said that they honestly, I feel like they should have spoke to their PR team or something about more, because I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's came out over time that is definitely going to be pulled back a lot more, um, once we actually get the game in our hands. Which is why I just keep telling people, you guys know how excited I am for Starfield. You know what I'm saying? It's not a shit on Starfield thing, but
You can
but a
call
lot of
things
people
out and
are.
still be excited about it.
Exactly. And people are like saying like, "Oh, they invented a whole galaxy and it's going to be this, that, and the third." And I'm like, "Yo, it's out in like less than a week. How about we just calm down and we all just play it for ourselves?" You know what I mean? And um like I said, like I'm really not. We had a conversation about this when uh funny enough, the game a lot of people like to shit on that they haven't played for Spoken. But at one point, I think they fixed it. Is
Yeah,
what
they did.
they
Apparently,
fixed the fade.
broken is running now butter smooth.
Well, no, the fade to black. There was something that was happening that in certain
Yeah,
scenes.
that was an issue for Viper,
Yeah.
and they
So,
fixed it.
but they fixed it. So again, that's something that happens quite a bit in this one because again, the planet I don't even mind. I'd rather land, like don't get me wrong, and I hope they fix that eventually, whether it's in DLC because again, that was and this is the thing, again, people don't want it compared to No Man's Sky, but there are a lot of things that No Man's Sky does really well that it doesn't, landing anywhere you want, low atmospheric flight, like and stuff like that. And I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because as someone who's actually played the game and doesn't just talk about it, I've played literally since day one, and I've played every single iteration of No Man's Sky that they have released to this date, and it's been 7 years. Um, so I've been witness to a lot of the changes and things that they made over time. But now my concern is, will they? What is the limitation? Because now is low atmospheric flight not going to be a thing because the Series S can't handle it? Am I going to be denied that awesome feature that could have been a thing? And now I have to ask myself this question all the time about Xbox exclusives because they definitely are beholden to have to deal with the Series S no matter what they do. And now I'm like, what other limitations are being present at any time frame? Especially, people love to talk about the size, scale, of scope, and ambition of this game, right? So now my question is, what is really being held back, in develop from a an original developer standpoint for the ambition for this game that wouldn't have been if, say, we had a Series X and a Series X digital, and no Series S. Like, would we have gotten low atmospheric flight? Would we have this load screen from space to landing? Why are all these decisions being made? Like, this is something, the transparency that Todd and them don't really have. A lot of times Todd's favorite line, we made a developer decision to limit it like this and stuff, but they don't ever really explain. They never do. And it's like, but from now on I'm going to constantly wonder what things that are very obvious to me when I play this game that I felt could have been way more epic or way more grandiose if that limitation wasn't there and they constantly had to consider the Series S version, which I know they do for the record because Todd specifically came out and said that he was playing the Series S version like constantly. And obviously the reason for that is so he can make sure that, it's a significantly playable version. And people again think it's just a matter of turning down the resolution and this, that, and the third, but it's not, because eventually, like, you don't want the performance going down to a certain point, right? Again, I bring up Destiny 2 for a reason. They eventually cut the prior consoles because they said it no longer offered the baseline experience they wanted people to have in their game. And when you played the game and you really understood that, like, you finally got to see why that was, right? Like the flames, the way the flame system worked in the game, and like when you went through an area and it was on fire and it looked insane and stuff like that, like that wasn't capable on the prior hardware. And that's why I say, again, hardware limitation is a very realistic thing. And I think honestly, if this game really offers the freedom to modders that it typically does,
It is.
I think it's going to be very,
Apparently,
very
Starfield
obvious.
it's gonna have a lot of mods. Apparently, they're allowed to mod not only normal mod but also mod planet, create new planet. Apparently,
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be really interesting. And the reason I tell people, like, when people think it's not like a hardware limitation, um, I always bring it back to like Skyrim and stuff. Like, eventually, when they eventually unlocked mods for Skyrim and Fallout, there were a lot of mods that never appeared on the console version. Guess what? Because they took too much memory to run, and they didn't run in the constraints that were listed from Bethesda in order to run on the console version. So there were a ton of mods that I used that literally I was only able to run because I was playing the PC version. So like people who think again, PC like this is just a reality. It's not a jab at Xbox specifically. Hardware limitations is a very realistic reality. Jump in your car and try to go 200 miles an hour, but you drive, a Honda Civic. You know, yeah, your engine's going to implode at about 115 probably. Like it's not a Ferrari, you know what I mean? You don't have a V12 engine, you don't have a V12, you don't have a turbo. Like, you know what I mean? Like these are just real life constraints and it's like people just don't want to face them. And it's just I don't know what it I mean I'm not going to say I don't know what it is. I mean from the fanboy point of view, they just don't want the perception that this inferior skew is causing all these issues, but it's becoming more and more apparent that it is. And like I said, the further the generation gets along, the more and more it's just going to be an issue. um, and some devs thankfully are not going to have a problem being candid about it, and they should, because ultimately that's the only way you get Microsoft to stop making these mistakes in the future. If they do inevitably come out with another Xbox, they know not to make that mistake going forward. And people tried to get on, Jim Ryan when he said, split SKUs with different settings are a problem. Now, again, people tried to say this the opposite way with the mid-gen refresh. That is not the case. Your baseline remains the same, which is fine, and then you only create enhancements for the mid-gen refresh. That is not an issue. You just creating enhancements. You're not working backwards down on something else. You are just creating enhancements of a game you were already creating. You're not having to diminish, your original product to fit an inferior product. So yeah, but I beat it up enough. I let it go.
Yeah. Um. So you buying Starfield Day One, will you be able to play it early like everyone else, or only Game Pass people?
No, I'm playing it early. I got the premium edition, two
Nice,
copies,
nice,
count them. So
good,
I bought it for me and I bought it for Fox. So we both have
nice.
the premium edition. Day one, I will be on the 1st of September. I took the day off. Um, so yeah, I'll be playing it day one with everybody else, or day -6 or whatever, when everybody wants to be funny about it.
Got you, got you, got you. So we're gonna have a first information about your opinion with the game then.
Absolutely.
Great. Um, Going forward, shout out to Morgan calling, saying that now those Lord of the Ring developers said straight it was the Series S fault.
Yeah.
I didn't see that one, but ouch.
No, she showed it to me. She showed it to me when it was first revealed. The statement from them when they were like, no, the Series S is what's causing, the issue that we're having on the Xbox or whatever. Like they pointed it out. They were very candid about it, which I'm thankful for, because personally I prefer the candidness and the transparency.
Yeah.
Um, which a lot of people, funny enough, a lot of Xbox fans were really big fans of transparency, and now all of a sudden they're not, and they're like, no, developers should just be quiet and be professional. They shouldn't be telling
Mm-hmm.
us things like that. And I'm like, because you don't like the answer? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, okay. I mean, I personally would still like them to be transparent about development and stuff like that. I find it interesting, but, when people don't like the answers, they don't want to hear it. So,
Yep. Shout out to C Fresh. I'm going to play Starfield on my 1080 PC.
yeah. I mean,
It's
1080 is still a beast, man. It's,
wait, really? Can it still run on 1080?
I mean, he probably play at 1080p and get away with it. I mean, the 1080 was
Okay.
the 10, he's probably referring to a 1080 Ti specifically, because that was like the popular card. But yeah, the 1080 Ti. I mean, to at 1080p, you should still be able to get away with it. It's getting long in the tooth, like for sure. But at 1080p, I think he'll be fine.
Okay. Have fun.
Yep.
Um, I'm I'm gonna prioritize Sea of Stars over Starfield. I was gonna give it a go, but Sea of Stars gonna be my prioritization. Um, Going to the next topic. So Microsoft partnered with Ubisoft, and basically, um, give me a second. So I pull up.
Microsoft partnered with Ubisoft in order to offload the the rights to cloud streaming in the UK in order to try and pass the deal. That's what you're referring to.
Wait, so that's
Hmm.
UK only?
Yes, because the CMA is the UK branch. So they're
Okay.
trying to get the deal passed finally in the UK. So they said that
Mm-hmm.
they would offer for 15 years in order to alleviate the concerns by giving them the streaming rights for a cloud in the UK in order to pass the deal to try and alleviate concerns that Microsoft would basically create a monopoly in the cloud gaming space. I mean, to me, that still, I get why the CMA basically said no, because that still doesn't answer the question. Regardless of who's in charge of it, it's still Microsoft's, so that doesn't alleviate their issue. And regardless of infrastructure, being weak or whatever, in the United States or here or there or wherever is irrelevant because cloud gaming is very much becoming a thing. Um, and honestly, it's not the best version of it. Um, GeForce Now is definitely the best performing version. And, they created the 10-year deal with them, right? But again, these are all short sighted things, right? Companies work in years and decades, right? So what's the issue, giving them rights for 10 years and then snatching it away 10 years from now when cloud gaming is in the sky and it's a much bigger thing and it's taken off and we've got all these really great solutions for it. Now Microsoft says, "Hey, all those 10-year deals, they're all expiring and from now on, we're not working with nobody. And if you want to play these games, you know, get Game Pass Ultimate, and that's your only option." You see what I mean? That's what they're trying to prevent.
Yep. I feel like my CMA is fighting a losing battle here.
Why?
Ultimately, they might not win, but they gotta the problem. I wouldn't say they're fighting a losing battle. I would just say that the thing that they have to make clear is where they have issues with it, um, so that they don't get superseded by, some of the other powers that be that, in their case, are kind of above them. I know the prime minister said something, um, and kind of like an issue because that's why they kind of went back to the table. Um, but he had something pretty pointed to say because Microsoft, threatening to pull out of the UK entirely, which is absolute bullshit for the record. If anybody understands anything about infrastructure and how that works for Microsoft, they're not pulling out of shit. Um, but yeah, they wanted to bring him back to the table and be like, look, as long as we can solidify exactly what your issue is, you know, uh, what is our potential solution here? Ultimately, they would have to indefinitely promise to basically keep, their games available via cloud to all available cloud partners. That's the only real solution, and they're not going to do that. This is why they keep coming
What
up. What I told you, like 10-year deals, 10-year deals. The
what
whole goal
what
is
what
cut it off.
what I find interesting is isn't it recently where Phil Spencer said like games like God of War should be available on Android and mobile devices, and then it was answered to clarify like how that would be possible. So, yeah, with streaming, like weren't you the guy who were saying that streaming, was very niche and wasn't going anywhere and blah blah blah, and now
Mm-hmm.
you're talking shit again.
Also, their games can't even run a good game that is less impressive as God of War on the streaming server.
Well, again, that's the grounds where, like I said, the streaming service itself is constantly needing to change, and it's not, it's honestly not in the best state. Yeah, I mean, some people who have like some of the literal best available internet and stuff right now are getting okay performance and stuff out of it. But like I said, for sure, I mean, I know firsthand with Morgan playing it, having played Pentiment, and then she played Redfall with me via it, and she said it did get a little bit better, but I mean, in comparison, her performance playing Cyberpunk, max settings on GeForce from her TV, was flawless by comparison. So that's a big difference to me, and that tells me GeForce now is a major competitor. But again, one of the big caveats and issues with that is that you have to own or purchase the game separately for uh, for GeForce, right? So again, that's another thing that Microsoft is kind of subsidizing with Game Pass, where that's kind of like that all included, where you get Game Pass Ultimate and the cloud and all that is included, and it's like again, these are things how they're going to kind of usurp or exceed their competition, right? Um, but to me, still tells me they don't think that's enough because the fact that, like I said, they keep putting a limitation on them sharing, their properties with everyone else. And the big reason this is an issue, obviously, because the amount of IPs that they've acquired in a short amount of time. So basically, the whole potential thing is that they're looking at is them locking down the industry from what is likely going to be one of the future biggest growth areas in gaming in years. A lot of people who typically didn't have access to the PlayStation, or just have a phone or just have tablets or so on and so forth, this quote unquote untapped market, I still don't think the potential market is as big as they think, because everybody on a phone doesn't want to play a game. Like we got to stop that. Like the market is just this big super thing, and everybody wants to play, and even everybody that wants to play doesn't specifically want to play your game. um it's like another big thing. Like everybody wants that Genshin Impact money, but when you understand the way Genshin Impact works and the reason why it's as big as it is, like I can tell you right now, like a lot of girls I know played that game because it was cute, right? It was cute. It was anime esque, and they got to play dress up and get the costumes, and the gotcha system got a lot of fresh people. The game was one of the few games where it had feature parity across whether you played on a phone, a tablet, a PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, or PC. Right? It its art style lended itself really well to basically be played anywhere. And it's a very specific thing, right? But like everybody's not gonna want to, like, oh, I want to play, like he said, he said God of War or Gears of War 6. That experience is not meant for cloud gaming on a phone. Like that's weird. And at most, people who have done it or tried it, they've only tried it as like a novelty, to see how it worked while they were at the doctor's office or something silly. But like most of us are not going around daily whipping out Xbox controllers in the waiting room, of the doctor's office. Like, yeah, let me get a couple matches of COD in. Like,
I,
no,
I will be too embarrassed.
yeah, it would be weird. Which
I mean,
yeah,
PlayStation controller is fine, but the Xbox controller, come on.
yeah, it would be weird. Like, I don't know. I just don't think that potential market is as big as they think it is,
I,
because
you,
everybody on a
you,
phone
you
doesn't
you
want to
know,
play.
it just occurred to me that the reason why I feel it's going so hard on streaming is that's the only way that Series S can get feature parity.
Well, yeah, there you go. Well, again, who had to eventually do streaming to get certain games? The weakest system out currently, the Switch. Of
Yep.
course, people don't like that solution because the Switch has really, really, really bad Wi-Fi. But uh, that's a perfect example, right? Hey, we no longer need to update the hardware because we can just, well, for future reference, this game only works on cloud. Like they're trying to get to that the TED talk I always refer to, where they said you will own nothing and you will like it. Microsoft wants full control. That's the ultimate goal. Microsoft wants full control. And anybody who thinks otherwise doesn't know this company and haven't been paying attention. The fact that maybe not the next iteration, but the one after that, they want to basically try and make Windows eventually cloud dependent, so a cloud based Windows. And I was like, oh my god, like this company just, they do not know how to relinquish control. It just it's all about how much can I control you, and how can I constantly get money out of you. Everything they want everything to be a subscription. Like I told people with
Yeah.
Office, right? They locked in a bunch of businesses over the years with Microsoft Office, and that's why you still run into people with like Microsoft 2013 or whatever, because a lot of people realized, oh, you can't buy it anymore. It's a monthly or yearly subscription to access these things. And people have kind of locked themselves in. So a lot of companies depend on Excel and you know, Word and
Windows.
Outlook. Well, specifically the 365 stuff, right? Like there's a lot of stuff that goes in with that. I work with it pretty much every day at work. The back end Azure servers and stuff like that, where I manage, entire companies via this stuff. But then the problem is when Microsoft is the foremost, company on that, they control the pricing. So they just say, "Hey, look, this year we're upping the pricing by this much, and if you don't want in, buy." But they know already they got you locked in. You know what I mean? Like your company is already literally woven in upside down
Hmm.
and wrapped around this infrastructure, and to switch it would just cost you so much money. So ultimately, you're gonna have a meeting with your board or whatever you got to do, and you're gonna pay the cost. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, and that's what the reason I say that is because that is why Satya, who they love to bring up, Nadella, is so famous, and why he was brought up, because he's the one that pioneered the Microsoft 365 subscription program, and he's the one that again they put it on everything. They eventually, because people wanted Microsoft 365, they wanted it on their iPads, they wanted to access it everywhere, but they didn't realize that was going to come at the cost of a constant subscription. So now tons and tons of people are upset about it. But gradually, well, what happens over time? People stop complaining, right? They get tired of it. They're just like, well, it's just this thing that I need for work. I have to have it.
Hmm.
So that's what they want. They want to get to a point where people stop complaining, and then they generate a consistent form of revenue also from another platform, which is Xbox. Or, that's why they stopped saying the word Xbox so much and started just saying shit like Game Pass, because Game Pass implies like a separate entity that is also part of Xbox, but is this it's this thing on its own. Hey, you want to play on your Samsung TV, play on your LG TV, play on whatever you want, as long as you pay this, this subscription. That's the goal, man.
Hey, um, going with this, do you think Xbox next purchase is gonna be Ubi, or is that just a deal?
No, I
A
just
Western?
I just think Ubisoft is one of the few companies with that's large enough to kind of help them deal with it. Is what I think that is. It's a third party, and it's one of the largest, and ultimately, obviously, Activision can't help them because they're purchasing them. So I think Activision might have been the go-to in that case, but obviously they can't because they're part of the company now. They're trying to own them. So one of the next biggest companies that is independent is Ubisoft. So no, I don't think it's a play for a purchase. Um, Also, I think it'd be kind of difficult with the amount of money that Tencent has invested already in Ubisoft, and I think that's also something they're trying to show. Like, hey, look, our competition has invested heavily in this company, and we're willing to work with this company to alleviate your concerns. But not realizing that, again, like I said, it's not really an answer to the concerns, because like I said, the deal, even 15 years is still a limited time frame, right? So in 10 to 15 years, when it's predicted that streaming will potentially be at its literal height, you have the rights all of a sudden to revoke any and all deals, and basically blindside any company like GeForce Now or whoever else is thriving next to you, rip away all this content that you own. But basically what Disney did, right? Disney showed up and they were like, hey, we're going to start a streaming service. Hey, Netflix, remember all that shit we gave you and we let you make all those shows? Yeah, we want that. So here's the deadline. Give me my stuff. That's what they're basically trying to prevent. They're trying to prevent
Mm,
the,
yeah.
the, the Disney gimme my stuff syndrome, because that is what Microsoft is setting up. That's why I said, that's why it's always here. We're committed for 10 years. We're committed for 15 years. Again, this seems like nothing because, for a lot of people, that's a long time, and it is a decent amount of time, right? 10 years from now, a lot of us will possibly have very different lives. You might have kids, you might be married, you might have be an entirely different person, right? But companies don't change like that. Microsoft is still going to be Microsoft. Microsoft has one goal, and their goal is like any other company: make as much money as you can, without basically pissing off your customer user base. And that's ultimately what they're looking to do with this. So, yeah, I don't think the CMA is wrong. I still think they they may lose ultimately in the end, but hopefully they get what hopefully they actually really get them to commit to something indefinite. But it just doesn't seem like that's going to be the case because Microsoft refuses to commit to anything without a timeline. Um, I mean, I think at least the next 100 years or something, like if they want to be finite about it, like would be decent. But yeah, that I don't think they would commit to anything even remotely that long either. So
Gotcha.
yep, they're at an impasse if you ask me.
This is why I said they're fighting a losing battle, cause the what you call it, the not the industry, but the optics are behind them, because yeah, it's Microsoft, and also because they're tired of PlayStation winning. That's basically what it comes down to.
Well, I mean, that's been said in a lot of the hearings and stuff like that. I mean, the whole thing that happened here with the FTC was basically the judge was just like, I want to hear what you think, about this, but like she was like, I don't want to hear anything about PlayStation. And it's like you realize PlayStation is a direct competition of the situation that you're investigating, right? So you're going to have to hear about the competition because the question is what is happening with competition. And it was just like you see how that kind of got thrown out the window during that whole thing. So she was just like very adamant, like, I don't want to hear anything about it. What do you think this is going to do for consumers? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad for them? Just tell me that. That's all I want to hear. I don't want to hear anything about PlayStation, like ever. Like it was just very. I don't know. It's like talking to someone who has already decided they don't like you. Like having a
Oh
conversation with
yeah,
them
Mhm.
is kind of like you're like, all right, well, clearly this conversation is going to go nowhere. And that's basically what happened with the whole FTC thing. Like it was the battle was lost before they even walked in the courtroom. Like it was already over. They were just for whatever reason they were blindsided and didn't see that coming from the beginning. So
or
yeah,
they knew they were blindsided, but they couldn't do anything about it.
that too. As we state, American politics are a dirty business. So, and make no mistake, that was politics. People tried to separate the two, but it was politics. And Microsoft has got a ton of people in their pocket, lobbying for them and uh, things of that nature. So, yeah, one way or another, FTC was going to lose that battle regardless, even if they had the best points in the world for why the deal shouldn't be able to go through. That was never going to realistically be a thing, because there's just too many people on Microsoft's side at a really high level.
So, do you think the CMA can do something? So here's
I mean,
because
all they can do is get them to commit to a longer amount of time, but it's going to either go through entirely or they're just going to block the cloud portion. Like they're not going to stop the Activision deal. So that can't be their goal because that's not going to happen. It's approved too many places now at this point, and they're like the last people fighting this battle. So all they can really get them to do is commit to a longer thing. Now I think what will really happen is the conversation we're having now isn't about now. The conversation will happen later, right? So in 10 years or whatever, if Microsoft does try to pull everything back from everyone, then you'll see the process of, where they can reverse decisions and they're going to come back to a very different thing where they're going to be like, "Hey, you said you wouldn't remove these things and you said you wouldn't do this, that, and the third, and yet here we are 10 years later and now you're trying to basically revoke everything um, and all the deals that you had in place, and you're trying to set yourself up as, basically the person you said that you were fighting against. You're fighting against PlayStation, who
So
had all these exclusives, and now you're basically trying to rip apart all these IPs that you bought over the years and not offer them to basically create a competitive, um, what is that thing? A competitive cloud gaming field. Now you're trying to usurp the competition by pulling all your games away from them, and now creating a space where you are the only one that offers Call of Duty. You're the only one that offers, Gears of War. You're the only one that offers all these IPs you've bought over the years, and it's like that's where I think you're gonna see another battle. It's like this battle's kind of over, but when the time comes for those deals to expire, they promise Boosteroid and all these stupid companies we never heard of, 10-year deals. When all that expires and you see what they really want to do, that you're gonna have to revisit that in other places, because then they're potentially gonna face anti-consumer, or anti-consumer, antitrust laws at that point, where it's like, it does this potentially violate what the original agreements were that Microsoft committed to years ago, and I think you're going to see it all pop up again then.
is Microsoft that stupid to do it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Microsoft doesn't care. Microsoft has infinite money as far as we are concerned. Infinite money to fight legal
So they
battles,
can simply pay the fine and keep it moving.
and that's what they hope it is. They hope they just get a slap on the wrist, they get a fine, they pay it, and they keep it moving, because that is statistically what they've done for years. So they don't expect it to be any different. The only thing they got to do is get over the initial hurdle of getting the deal in place now, and then they'll deal with the consequences later.
Hmm.
I don't
Okay.
care what you say. I'll still hold a candle for the CMA. They're gonna come through. They're gonna save us all. There are only hope.
I mean, it'd be
Beat
nice.
the Empire.
Beat the Empire. Oh man, that's funny. We were watching
He
the Ahsoka
wanted to
thing.
not go either, but our hands are tied with this one. And even CMA are hands are tied.
No, they're not.
I mean, not
What
yet,
can
but
they
not
do?
yet, but they could be. If you see
Well,
the
hands
When
are
if you see
I
the
tied.
prime
think
minister,
the battle was lost the second the FTC lost. It was over.
mm,
No, it wasn't.
I mean, they're still fighting it, but I'll tell you it's over if another body of government steps in. Like, if the prime minister steps in and says, like, "All right, I don't think you guys have a case," and he shuts it down, then it's done.
Yeah, but no, hold on. First of all, the prime minister technically cannot shut this down. The way it is arranged, CMA is completely independent from the government. So it's different from the FTC, where it's they're directly appointed by the government, like Trump appointed like a guy for the FTC when he was in charge, and that guy basically killed net neutrality because he was a stooge for the network companies. But so it's not so easy to say, okay, yeah, no, they can just overturn it. And I think what I do find interesting is that when the CMA initially ruled, no, the deal is not going to go through because of the cloud concerns. Everybody was saying the deal is dead, and now suddenly the deal is not dead because the FTC lost their court case. So I find it kind of interesting to say that I mean, for the CMA, their ruling is sort of applies worldwide, right? For the UK, as far as the UK is concerned, their ruling applies worldwide. So it's not that they're saying, okay, you cannot do this in the UK. No, we're not okay with you doing this anywhere.
Yeah,
So what that means in practically, that's a different story. But still, I still find it interesting to see, everybody's sort of giving up hope. But I know if it's that cut and dry. I mean, sure, it's certainly reasonable to assume that they're going to reach a concession at some point. I mean, that's a reasonable assumption. But on the other hand, you know, if Microsoft is going to keep playing hardball and saying, yeah, no, we want to go through this whatever way you want it, and we're not gonna give you any of those measures that you've proposed. Sell off COD or Activision or whatever, right? Um, 'cause they're not gonna play ball with that. So
Yeah.
I still kind of wonder if it's that easy to say, okay, yeah, no, it like Omar saying is a losing battle. Like I don't know. I mean, I'd say the CMA could still in the end to say, yeah, no, we're going to uphold our ruling because nothing you've offered is essentially addressing our concerns, and you will never will.
Yeah.
And the question is then, what
But
other
the CMA
consequences?
is a one-man army, one company army.
Dude, you're seriously underestimating the influence app. The thing is, there are like we've said from the beginning, there are three bodies that have to approve: the EU, the FTC, and the CMA. If one of them doesn't improve, we always said, okay, the deal's not going to go through. CMA has rejected the deal.
Yeah.
They don't underestimate, like, the UK is not just one country. It's one of the most powerful countries in the world as well. It's the biggest games market in Europe, right? So it's not something you can simply ignore and say, yeah, we're just going to go ahead. If that were the case, like, there, these three are not the same as like Brazil or Mexico or whatever other country that has approved the deal, right? These are like the linchpin. So still, I'm like, sure, I'm with you guys. That I'm also sort of, truth be told, I'm really tired of this. Like, I don't really, at a point,
We
I've
we are
ceased to
we
care.
we are all tired of it,
I've
but
ceased to care. But the thing is, like, and I'm not to say very optimistic there that the deal's not going to go through. But on the other hand, like, I'm not like going to say, okay, it's a done deal, because as of May, there's just still one agency that's just sticking through and saying, okay, yeah, we haven't approved this. We are not going to allow this deal to go through. And like everybody has said, all analysts, whatever, have said, like, okay, yeah, if the CMA doesn't approve, the deal's not going to go through. Now suddenly that doesn't no longer applies. Now suddenly the CMA will cave because other countries have decided to approve it. Yeah, I'm not sure if I buy that.
Yeah.
So we have to wait and see how this plays out. But the thing is, like when like initially the CMA was rumored to approve it, and everybody thought, okay, it's over, right? Then they rejected it, and then okay, everybody thought, okay, it's over, but like the deal is dead. And then suddenly the FTC lost their court case, and okay, it's over, the deal is going to go through. So it's interesting to see how this is going, but I wouldn't be surprised if somehow, like, at the end of this, um, it's a Hail Mary, I know, but that they just can say, yeah, look, it's not going to go through because we can't make this work.
Yeah.
okay, let's move on from this one. Because at the end of the day, it's a waiting game. Um, the next topic.
Which is the philosophy of Xbox.
Hmm. Um, what else to talk about it beside the opening of Gamescom? We watched it off air. Shout out to Morgan. She was a blast in the sense of I enjoyed her going ape shit over the Cyberpunk DLC.
It was epic.
She went
Yeah,
in. She actually took your role. You were more focused on what's going on. She was fanboying.
Yeah. I
I,
mean,
on the other hand, fanboyed pretty hard at Little Nightmares 3.
yeah, she was
Like,
also excited for that. So,
oh, she's also said
but
great.
yeah, apparently,
It,
I'm going to be playing my little first nightmares because they decided to add co-op. So,
oh, no, you absolutely need to play 1 and 2.
I mean, they're not my kind of games, but I'll probably play three because Morgan says that we're playing co-op. So,
Oh, yeah, it's co-op, yeah. Um, Real Talk story never made sense in 1 nor 2. So this is not a story game. What it is though, it is a platforming game. and I love it. Also, it's a stealth game, which I also love. That's super exciting for me. Other than that, Mortal Kombat was had a very good showing. Anyone here picking it up?
Is that Mortal Kombat?
Yeah,
Nah, I'm
nah.
I'm good on fighting games, and if I pick up one, it'll be Street Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't play them enough to warrant like a day one purchase, and like while it does look amazing, right? Like good for people who really still dig fighting
It
games.
does.
I think it's probably the best Mortal Kombat has looked in years. It looks impressive to me. The reset to the world and stuff like that, going with new original stories and stuff, and really changing things up. I think it's going to work out really well for them. Again, I think it looks amazing. It's just man, I'm drowning in games, other games I'd rather play. So
Yeah.
that's on a very long list of games I want to play. That is possibly not even on the list. So, but I'm sure I'll watch a
Mm-hmm.
few people play it and stuff like that, and things of that nature. But I mean, it's just another great game in the fighting renaissance we seem to be having,
Oh
where
yeah.
all the fighting games are coming back and going crazy. So
And
Well,
the next,
I'm
yeah, go ahead,
I
Weep.
he doesn't even wait for my opinion, man. Jesus. Right. It's
I
like Adonis said.
I wanted to ask you, but then I forgot. Go
There's
ahead.
like only two people in this podcast. How the fuck did you forget?
he said I forgot. Oh
All right, Morgan, I know how you feel now.
man.
Now, um, yeah, I mean, it definitely looks good. I'm also very interested in, it, but I'm not gonna get it day one because me have said before with Mortal Kombat, like you know, you're gonna get like half of the roster in DLC, and you're gonna pay two, three times the price of the game if you're gonna get all the DLC. So I'll just wait until the inevitable Ultimate Edition comes out with all the DLC, and then I'll get it.
Mm. So you wanna get the 4 GB edition
Yes.
with every single DLC? Because I'm pretty sure you're excited to play as that one person from the boys.
No,
I thought you loved the boys.
I like the boys, but I'm not particularly interested in playing as Homelander. No, I'm
Oh,
far more
okay.
interested. I I I I want to play as my boy Reptile because they did him dirty the last time around. So I'm
Well,
excited to see that he's back.
you seen how he plays now?
Yes, he
He
turned
look
into a real boy.
he look really awesome. How his ability to almost like morph from a human to a reptile and then back and
That's
forth.
it's not almost. He's actually doing it.
Well, yeah, he is. Besides that, what? Okay, so Graham Blue Fantasy Relink. Who is excited about this one? I'm curious.
I mean, I
uh,
never stopped being excited. So
yeah.
it's just now we officially
Say
know it's 2024.
though I do have to admit it doesn't look as good as it was initially revealed.
Yeah,
Nobody can tell me
I
that.
agree. No,
It
I
isn't
agree with
done
that.
good.
Yeah, it switched studios. This game have been, I'm not sure if it's called development hell, but have switched either one or two studios. So far
Yeah,
I
it's
remember.
been passed around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
initially it was Platinum Games, and then they just some weird notification that they had to stop working on it and handed everything to back to Side Games or whatever. So I don't know. I mean, I was excited when they announced that Platinum Games was working on it because they absolutely nail the action combat,
they do.
and now I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, it's still it looks interesting, but I just hope it doesn't just turn out to be a very generic a JRPG or action JRPG instead of being an interesting action game. Like you've seen what they did with Nier Automata, man. That game was elevated by the gameplay. So I just hope that they at the very least. competently copied the Platinum Games gameplay, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, because from the look of it, it doesn't seem like that they. It almost seems like Platinum Games seems to have look way better than this one.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Um, I am excited to see how it's gonna be. There is a class that's almost like a summoner esque. So what I am not sure about is how does the game work. What I mean by that is this: you have this game. Um, do you do you play as a certain character? Can you switch between them? Is it like a party base where you can switch between
Well, I
characters?
imagine you wouldn't be switching between characters if you're playing co-op because you have to remember it's also supposed to be four-player co-op.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
well, then we can co-op.
Yeah. So that's the big
It's
thing with
a
that game still.
it's a story-based game.
But still, I mean, if you can play single player, I can imagine you can switch characters. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because you did see that you were playing as different characters.
Yeah, and it's gonna be very interesting to see how you're gonna invest in one character, and if you wanna change character, is it gonna be something on the fly, or you're gonna need to start a new character all over from the
No, no, no.
beginning?
I imagine this is going to be like Tales of Arise.
Oh, you think that it's gonna be? So you think
I
at the
mean,
very end we're gonna have access to all of the characters and switch on them, not per se on the fly, but like
I,
almost
I,
like
I mean, I don't really understand why you're assuming it's going to be any different than any JRPG, because most JRPGs just allow you to
because
control all characters.
Yeah. I think if you're
because
playing
this
with
is
no one, you'll just if you're playing with no one, I think you'll be able to just either control them, or at the very least, obviously everybody's going to level up. So I don't think you'll be playing with a single character. Like I said, I think, like you said, you'll have
mm,
substitutes and you'll have a party, AI controlled party members if you're not playing with anyone.
hmm I had no idea of this one. Because from the gameplay that I remembered, he was just one character with a sword and a fire element, and he was fighting a dragon, and it was beast.
No, you
And
you 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 also saw the woman that you got to play at in the original gameplay demo of when what's called Platinum Games is still working on it.
hmm so yeah, I'm looking forward to see how the game is gonna play, and I'm very excited about it. Other than that, was there? Oh, yeah, I was about to say, was there any surprise? It's not per se a surprise because they already announced it, but Black Wukong, Black Miss Wukong, it's looking like a spectacle, and I think it. No,
As what? Can you
uh,
repeat that? What is?
as
A
it's looking
spectacle.
very interesting.
Oh,
Yeah,
Sekiro.
I screwed that up, but yeah, it's looking great. No,
I
not
thought
great.
it
Amazing
sounds
even.
like a sex pet.
Hey, amazing even. And I based
Mm.
it all on from what I've seen, but also I love the concept to be able to make your staff larger and deal damage to the enemies. Like that's something I don't recall we have seen other games do like that to such degree.
I mean Dragon Ball.
I mean, yeah, Dragon Ball, but not hack and slash game.
I'm pretty sure I have, but okay. I mean, this is the quintessential weapon of Son of Son
I know,
Goku, as they called in
Son
Japan.
Goku.
Yeah.
but I never played. The only game that I played from some Goku that mimics some, not mimic, that is semi like some Goku, which would have been uh, Enslaved Journey of the West, which
Yeah.
again an amazing game. But his staff was never that large to such degree.
Uh, just to be clear, is it not confirmed that that's a Souls-like game?
That was going to be my next uh, almost like segue. Do we know if it's a Souls-like game or not? Because from the look of it, it almost seems like it is. But yet it plays different. It plays hack and slashy.
Which would be great to me because I fucking hate Souls games.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Souls games, so far
I know you guys
I think the
aren't.
game looks
I
good.
love Souls games.
I think the game looks good, but so far I'm not entirely tied to being interested in it like that.
Wait, so far it's not a day one for you?
Absolutely not.
Interesting. What do you need for it to be day one for you?
Not
Uh,
Souls-like.
yeah, exactly. Not Souls like. Like I'm tired of that whole thing, that constant mimicking of that genre. Like it's just that subgenre. Like it's just it's not me. But like I said, I mean, if it is and everybody else likes it, cool. But yeah, right now it's not. I mean,
Yeah.
I need to see a lot more. I need to see skill trees. I need to see a bunch of other stuff. Like there's a lot to it.
Yeah, we have yet to see an what we call it an unbroad gameplay.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, it looks good, but right now, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely not a day one. I don't know enough right now to be day one.
And,
So
and Nate and me are the anti-Souls brothers.
absolutely.
Day one was this one. This is looking I love Souls games, even though I shit on Elden Ring, but mostly because of how Elden Ring is. But yeah, with this one, I'm super, super, super excited about it. From day one, I was day one on it. I can't wait, and I'm curious to see if it's gonna be legit or it's a dud.
Yeah, we'll see soon enough.
We see. We don't have a date yet, right?
Not as far as I know.
Yeah.
To be fair, I do have quite a bit of faith in it that it's actually going to turn out good because Sony has been spot on with the China Hero project so far.
Agreed.
I mean, are they? What's that game name? The game that almost rivals the um, what's that game? The Last Guardian. When it comes to how long it's taken them out to be active. What is the game name?
Are,
I'm not sure what
are
you
you
mean.
talking about Lost Soul Aside?
Lost Soul
Oh, Lost Planet. Okay, yeah, yeah. We haven't seen it yet, but games like Fist and another
This
game
was
again.
great. What other
That,
game have they
yeah,
supported?
there was that 2D. Actually, I would almost say almost cyberpunk like game.
Oh, they made it. They supported it. I know what you're talking about. I got the
Yeah,
platinum.
yeah. That me too. With the cheating Pong machine.
Are you talking about Anime Titanium or whatever?
Yeah,
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I think we covered. What's that other game that also apparently?
Well, I mean,
Uh,
there was one. Killing Floor 3 got
which one?
got
Oh
announced,
yeah.
and it looked fucking amazing. And
Okay.
I hope coming soon means a lot sooner than I could possibly imagine, and I can't wait to play it. The game was epic. All my discords where I play it, everybody was lit up. It's exciting. It looks amazing.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah, I'm extremely excited to play it.
you never told us. How was Fox's reaction to it?
She woke up screaming. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's just she didn't
Oh
realize it
God.
happened while she was asleep, and she was like, "Oh my god, I wish I seen it live. Oh my god!" And so yeah, she
I
was
really wish
ecstatic.
he was in the what we call it on
Yeah,
the stream.
yeah, she
Would
was
have been great hearing her going popping off.
yeah she was flipping out. It was an event. So just like I knew
Nice,
she would.
nice, nice.
Because like I said, we've played that game for probably 10 years now, from Killing Floor 1, Killing Floor 2, and so on and so forth. So hopefully 3 lives up to it. It already looks amazing. So
Yeah,
as long as they focus on the gameplay the way that they always have, I think it's going to be incredible. So
I'm also interested in that. What's called? Thank goodness you're here. Is that the game from the Untitled Goose Game developers? Just purely based on the fact that that's from them because that game was fire,
yeah,
and it looked really interesting.
which game?
he didn't remember the name
Uh,
of it. He said it was just from the Untitled Goose Game people. I don't remember.
thank
Untitled.
thank good goodness you. Yeah, that sort of cartoon like looking game.
Wait, the farm one?
The what?
Oh, Platoon. Wait, are you talking about? Wait, Platoon. Platoon is the one with the squids and
He didn't. He
Uh,
the.
didn't say
I,
Splatoon. He said like the
yeah.
Untitled Goose Game from the people from
Oh,
Untitled Goose Game.
uh,
So I was like, where are you getting
Untitled.
Splatoon from?
Yeah.
I genuinely haven't played Platoon. That's why. Welcome to Bad Hearing. Give me a second. I want to look up the Untitled Good game. Which one it is? I'm not clear yet.
What? You never played Untitled Goose Game? Man, you're missing out. Crimson Desert also looked pretty good, but you
They
know,
are House. House is the name of the creator. Weird.
is House creator
Weird.
or the publisher?
No, the creator is House Out. The publisher is Panic
Oh
Beat
yeah, yeah,
Studio.
yeah. Okay, yeah, it's the publisher. Yeah, that they're yeah, okay. So it's not the developer. Yeah, okay, yeah. But yeah, the game looked
Crimson
pretty interesting.
Star was the show for me, Morgan says. That's interesting.
Oh,
Oh,
oh
yeah.
god,
The
oh
Forgetful
god.
Gamer said Anomutitonium in chat. I didn't see he actually said it, but yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, Anamutatium. Yeah, yeah. I have no idea what game is after the Untitled Goose. I'm not looking. I'm not finding it.
well,
The
a
game
lot
you're
of people were
talking.
actually initially turned off from Crimson Desert because
Oh yeah, Crimson Desert.
they thought it was an MMO.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and then
But
they
Yeah, but
from
confirmed
the
later that it wasn't.
oh, so
wait.
it's actually
It's a
single
single
player
player
then?
RPG. Yeah,
Oh, okay,
Oh,
okay, okay.
yeah,
It's
now
so something got on my radar now.
exactly.
now it's on my radar as well. This game look massive.
Yeah, I mean it looks incredible. I mean I thought it looked great from the first time we saw it, but we hadn't heard anything from them for a while. And then when we saw it, and then like I said, everybody thought it was an MMO. A lot of people got uninterested, and then they confirmed after the show because they realized people were discussing that they realized they needed to clarify, and they did. So it's supposedly fully single player. I don't see that game by the way, Weeb. I tried to find it for you. Um,
Me neither.
the
I
game
think
from the Untitled Goose people, but it's not in
yeah.
the trailer shown from opening night live. So
Shout
No,
out
no, no.
to
It was absolutely no. It was absolutely there.
no. I
It,
said, but I was
huh,
saying I was looking through GameSpot put together all trailers from opening night live in
yeah,
a
yeah.
thing, and I think they forgot
GameSpot.
it.
If you check IGN, yeah, they're mentioning it.
okay. So describe it to us. What type of game is it?
I mean, I can just drop you the link in
Thank you. That would be
chat.
great. Cause I'm genuinely curious I know Untitled Good. I have watched a few gameplay, not much. I
But
see
no,
the reaction.
I think you said you also thought it looked interesting.
Repeat that.
You'd say things that you
Right?
also said you thought it looked interesting.
Untitled Goose or no, that game.
The
Um,
new game.
could be.
Could be.
Is it the one almost like anime esque?
Well, I wouldn't call it anime. It's more uh,
Cel
Western
shaded. Cel
comics.
shaded.
It's sort of a cartoon style,
Cartoon style. Yeah, I remember a little bit of it now.
let's
Um.
say it's more closer to Ren and Stimpy than it is to anime.
Okay. With that being said, we there was no true like bomb bombshell moment at Gamescom. Do you think we might get something more powerful next year, or do you think COVID is still hurting developers
But
even
by
till
the way, by
today?
the way, by the way, do you? I figured out why people were thinking that Crimson Desert was an MMO because there's also an MMO called Black Desert.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also, I think the the
The
the what do you call
gameplay
it?
kind of looked like it could be too, so it was like,
Not only that, the gameplay was so impressive for people. They were like, "I'm gonna miss out on it because it's an MMO."
hmm
And when they found out it's single player, like they're just like us, they're jumping on it day one.
there it is. It's
Um,
at the very end of IGN. I see it now. It's on screen.
wait, give me a second.
Oh, but this relates to Black Desert because it was initially planned to be a prequel to Black Desert Online.
It was very short. That's why I don't remember it. The trailer for it was super short. The thank goodness you're here thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was like really
Which
short.
one?
But it looked pretty fun.
So there's
So
Dustborn and then there's thank goodness you're here, but it's really short. Like
Oh
yeah,
it's
yeah, Dustborn was
but
Morgan Jam.
oh no, but this one too. I think I'm pretty sure Morgan's gonna jump on this too. Morgan and me
Morgan
are going to be the weird indie gamers, right?
yeah, she's definitely all about the indie stuff.
Morgan is all about that bond. Okay, so that bond it did looking interesting, and then the other one after it, that Morgan Jam. Okay, before I close it up, um, what did I want to talk about? I wanted to say something, but damn, I forgot.
Oh, it happens a lot with you, so don't worry.
Now I genuinely wanted to ask you guys something. I'm gonna switch it up. Um,
I think you were saying something that there wasn't anything particularly exciting with
You said
no.
Gamescom.
there wasn't a big bombshell
Yeah,
basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So with the lack of powerful titles, like
I think what you
for
mean there
example,
was no big AAA holy shit
yeah,
reveal.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a sign of a lack of things. I think it's just there's a lot of game conventions throughout the year, and then I mean we've had stuff already where stuff has been revealed. So I mean we just got a lot of continuations of things, and we got a lot of clarification, um, about upcoming things that we're already interested in. So I don't think it's really a lack thereof. I just think it's a timing thing because stuff's not always in a state where it's ready to be shown the way that they want to show it. So I think that you'll see that we just kind of get things more spread out throughout the year. And I mean, we're also in a state of just like an onslaught of games. So less
Yep.
news and more game releases, which again
fantastic.
seems weird because usually as people who do a podcast, you want both. You want the news and you want the
Hmm.
games. But the reality is we're just drowning in games. And so,
We are.
they're also keen not to
Absolutely.
reveal stuff while killing the excitement for current things. They want to build the excitement for things like what we're looking forward to, like on screen right now. The Cyberpunk team, which I'm going to watch here in a bit, the Cyberpunk Red stream where they talked extensively about Phantom Liberty, um, which by the which by the way is something that I still really really love. By the way, this does get a lot of shit currently, where people talk about the evolution of games after they come out. I love this. This is the one part about um, games being able to be added to at a later stage. Like, yeah, I mean, you want the best version of whatever you can make when you made it, but the reality is, games eventually have to be cut. You have to make an executive decision and decide when to stop adding things to a game and when to focus on delivering and polishing a game, and the game going gold. There are inevitably always going to be things. You're talking about a room or teams full of creative people. There's always, and this was something that I loved hearing from. This is why I love the behind the scenes where PlayStation does a lot with their teams. You hear about all the stuff. Yeah, Aloy almost had a sword, and this, that, and the third, and all the stuff that they go through in the
Wait,
iterations.
what?
Yeah, she almost had a whole bunch of stuff. Like it's a complicated thing. You have to watch the video if you haven't watched it. But they talk about
Aloy
they
almost had
they
a sword.
she almost had a lot of weapons. Like they're talking about how they designed her spear, like over time, and like it was a sword at one point, and then it was this at one point, and it was
Wait,
they designed
it
a bunch of stuff.
it
Don't read into it. It wasn't ever a sword in production. They're talking about on the ground room floor where they're designing what she would have. They went through
hmm?
a bunch of different weapons as to what it could be, and then gradually they said they landed on the spear and like started to shape it and
Mm,
design it. But I'm saying from like a developer standpoint, you get to see all that stuff, and it was like
mm-hmm.
you got to remember like this is a room full of creative people, or teams and teams full of creative people. So there's a ton of ideas, but eventually you got to kind of design what what you are going to ship, right? So you got to nail down the concept, nail down all the things that's happening, and that's something. What I was saying is like iteratively, though. I love how they're not just patching stuff and fixing games, but games are evolving um, into much more robust versions of what they are. Like again, yeah, No Man's Sky started bad, but it didn't take them too long to deliver on the original promise. But they went far beyond that. Like
They went
yeah,
like that. If I were to say what is the biggest game with the biggest comeback, I would generally have to say Moment Sky.
well, yeah. I mean, it's huge, and again, a lot of times people haven't noticed because again they haven't played it because a lot of people wrote it off so early. But I mean, it wasn't. But like I think like the third update to the game, like the third major update, where you could fully see people and like, play the co-op and stuff the way that they originally promised multiplayer. But now we're 7 years past that, and the game just got another major update, and they haven't charged a dime for it.
Damn. Why does it feel almost like a jab at Starfield?
I mean, it's a jab at a lot of games who charge us for every little thing, over time and so on and so forth. I mean, you can see. I'll pull it up on screen because I did a post of I did a thank you post about it, but you can see
I
on
am.
on screen right here, like this was crazy. Like look at this: Foundation, Pathfinder, Atlas. Um,
Wait,
these are
all of it is free?
all of this is free and in the game. These are all the updates that have taken place
What?
in No Man's Sky over the years. Foundation was
Why
the
does it.
original update.
Dude, how big is this update? Is it an expansion or is it a few things?
There's a lot that's changed over time.
So
It's constantly evolved. They've added
it
new vehicles. They've added tons of new ships. They've added new types of ships. They added living, breathing ships. They've added, you can have like a whole gang that rides with you, and shoots and go hunt pirates, and like people just don't understand how expansive this game has gotten over the years. It
does
is
this game have a
unbelievable.
story?
Yeah, I mean there's multiple storylines you can go through. You can go through
Okay.
like the main portion, which is really just trying to get to the center of the galaxy, but then there's lines that kind of intersect with each other. One where you're trying to figure out who is trying to contact you and what happened in the void, um, and stuff like
Mm.
that. And you're learning the ancient language and going through all these things and talking to all these people, the pathfinders, the people who came before you. And then
Wow.
there's a lot to it. And in the meantime, on top of all that, you're still discovering all these planets. You're going through all these things, changing all these ships. Evolving your ships, evolving your multi tools to do different things. Um, you
You
know,
could play single player.
yeah, I mean, you could play entirely single player. I mean, I played
Yeah.
majority single player, but I've also jumped in. It's jump in and out. So like, I've jumped into people's games, given them like resources and money and stuff, and helped them get a better ship. And then we took off and we improved their base and we did all kinds of stuff. Like
Wow.
you can play however you really want.
So why haven't I have seen this game at Game of the Year? Not Game of the Year, but like
Well, it did
uh
win most improved game ever or something like that, or most improved.
multiplayer game of the year. Oh yeah, I
Oh,
do
ongoing
remember
game.
it.
It won best
Yeah,
ongoing game.
ongoing. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
as it should.
always went to Final Fantasy 16. I mean 15, but no, not 15. 14. But this one seemed to be almost as big as a comeback as Final Fantasy 14.
No, people
If not
again,
bigger.
like I said, people just don't understand because it's been. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that it's been 7 years because I still remember the first night I popped the disc in and I played it and I put 80 hours in it before it even had its first update for Foundation. Like
Mm-hmm.
Fox, and another friend of ours, we all played the brakes off this game, and then it started getting Foundation, and then I remember it got Pathfinder, and I've met people over the years that have played each iteration with me and gone through different things, and we went back and discovered it, and the whole quest
Mm-hmm.
line for the living ship. Like it's absolutely insane, and I get like I said, it's almost so big that people can't really fathom how much has happened over time. Because if you're coming in now, you're seeing the end result of all of this, right?
Yeah,
So you don't
it's
understand all the
almost
changes that have taken place.
it almost feels like too big for me to jump in.
I mean, potentially, but not really. I mean, like I said, all this stuff is iterative, right? But this is just to show you what this is showing you is how much has actually happened in such a long time
Mm-hmm.
frame. People just forget how long No Man's Sky has been here, and it's also unusual because wait, I had to mute myself because wait, okay, they're going away. I thought the siren was going to get louder. But no, like I said, it's hard for people to realize, but in the game, when you jump in, you're not going to realize all these things have changed. You're just going to realize the game in its current state, and potentially all the things that you could do. Like a lot of people think that like No Man's Sky still has no life and this that and the third, and it's just a bunch of empty planets. There's I can't even begin to explain all the stuff that happens. Like, um, there's things where you're taking care of a settlement. Eventually, you get a settlement in which you're evolving it and improving it, and the settlement gets bigger and turns into like a small city. And again, like people just really, really do not get everything that's available in this game. Like you can really just start and kind of dig in, and you can just do the main storyline. There's subquests and stuff that are going on for, like I said, like the settlement and other little things. And yeah, the game teaches you how to do a lot of these things, initially by teaching you what you need to create a full-fledged base and all that stuff. But people have gone on to just create insane things in this game on top of, the main quest and or several main and sub quests that are in the game. It's just it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And it plays
Okay.
flawlessly. That's another thing. The performance in this game has also gotten better. So it's not just these iterations, the performance has gotten better and the game just looks better over time. So it's looked better, performance has gotten better in a wake where we're dealing with games that seem to be looking better and performing worse. This game just keeps looking better and performing better. And then even in VR, which is again no additional cost, um, that you get access to if you have the VR, they added foveated rendering in the game recently, which again improved the VR experience on top of everything else they just added to the game in the latest
Mm.
update, which isn't even featured here. These are all the previous ones, and then Echoes came out as well, which is not in this list. Echoes is the new one they just came out with, and they just added a new race, a new playable race to the game, and a bunch of other stuff. Combat with your freighter, which is another ship that you don't pilot, that you have a crew that pilots and can house all your ships and even facilitate trade. And you can call it in all across the galaxy, and it fights for you. Like if you get attacked by pirates and stuff, you're and they attack you near your freighter will fire on the enemy ships, and it people again. It's
So
it's
many
it's
stuff.
so
I
many
have a
things.
question for you. Have you ever played the game called Journey to the Savage Planet?
I haven't.
I have.
I know you have. Um, does it play similar?
Mm,
I s-
no.
no.
Well, I I
Okay.
I mean I've played. I've only played No Man's Sky when it came out, so I don't know how it has improved. But I assume that at its core, it's still the same game, right? And they
You said what? Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you still fly up and stuff, but like,
yeah, okay.
it's still so very
Does it
different from
have
what it
combat
originally was.
or no?
Does it have what?
Does it have combat?
There's a shit ton of combat. What are you talking about? You can literally
Okay.
fight anything on the damn planet. Pirates, sentinels. Sentinels will eventually can call in like enhanced robots and shit on your ass. Like oh, there's a ton of combat. That's another false thing that which I get. I
Okay.
I get why you would ask that question because a lot of people think there isn't.
No, no. The only thing I'm asking the question is because Journey to the Savage Planet had combat and was a great game. I truly enjoyed it. And
Yeah, but I'd say Journey is a lot more action focused and
okay,
than No Man's Sky. I think No Man's Sky is much more uh, has combat, but I think much more about
the
exploring. Uh,
exploration, and also
but,
it
but
can unlock the
yeah,
human that Journey to the
yeah,
Savage Planet had.
yeah, and yeah, that too, because Journey is basically just uh, I wouldn't say linear, but what's the opposite of procedural? Just to say it's not procedurally generated. That's the difference with No Man's Sky. It procedurally generated, so you have essentially an infinite amount of planets, and everybody's experience is different.
Mm-hmm.
Then I
Gotcha.
see I see J
Um,
Wags commented in the chat, and I feel you, but we're so far away from that at this point. This game is celebrating 7 years, bro, of support at no additional cost. Like massive updates, entire game changing level updates. Like I get he had that one lie about not about being quote unquote multiplayer, but like I said,
There was more than one lie,
but that
but
was what everybody was focusing on. Was like, oh, I can't see you on the planet. Like that was
yeah,
like
yeah,
everybody. That was like everybody's freak out moment. But
yeah,
like,
but that was so fucking stupid that you like literally say like,
um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
with
yeah, it was like that
If you
that one interview where he said it, and I was like, I don't know why he said it. He lied. I acknowledge it, but I was like, that
I
shit in the scope of things, that shit was fixed by like the
I
first update right here, and we're down here somewhere now. It's
Mhm.
like it's so long ago. Like I get it, and I'm like, I'll never forget that. But this game is so far from that
I
nonsense
have a
now.
question.
Yeah.
Is it almost feels like he wanted to implement all these things, but he had a deadline to release the
Mm.
game.
I mean, potentially. I mean, they were and are still a relatively small team. Which
But
again is another thing that's so impressive about all the
I
everything
updates they put out. But
everything he promised is now in the game, right?
yeah, but that has been since like I said since like the original like foundation update.
Yeah.
Like and that's up here. Like I said, this is the thing
Mhm.
to visually keep in mind. This happened here. This is 7 years of updates. And these aren't like, oh, we added a gun and some new cars. Like these are like ground level, entire game changing
Mm-hmm.
updates like that changed, add different atmospheres, different temperatures, underwater exploration. I
Mm.
mean, these things added, essentially some of these updates were so big they would be considered like another video game project entirely. Like,
I was about to say, from the look of it, you could easily combine a few of the DLC together and create a new game out of it.
yeah, and they essentially have. They've created other games within this game over time with all they've added. Like people didn't even know
And
yeah,
for free, right?
huh?
For free.
Yeah, for free. It's all been for free. You bought the game day one, you never had to pay a dime beyond that, like ever.
So not only they
Nib
acknowledge,
actually went and bought the game after I was explaining it, because a lot of people just don't know how expansive it is. Like it just again, people live, hung on that one day, that initial launch, and I get it. First impressions are important, which we do speak about a lot in gaming, and they are. But this game just isn't that anymore. Like
yep,
I showed them an instance where someone was landing on a base that they made, and it was like they went to land and the ship closed up and landed under the water, and then the person got out and went into like a tunnel and their base was entirely underwater. Like that wasn't possible originally.
C Fresh is asking, is there microtransaction?
Absolutely zero microtransactions.
Okay.
Not
By the
one.
way, shout out to Jaywalk. Um,
Also, they have live events that also happen, which take place, which are an entirely fresh playthrough, which give you unique challenges and storylines to follow that evolve over weeks that you do with the community as well. Like this game just, uh,
so
it's insane.
not not to throw a jab at Starfield, but what? No, no, no. I'm genuinely
You keep
curious.
trying though.
No, no, no. I'm not. I'm genuinely curious. If you have a game like this,
Hmm.
you yourself, what are you gonna get out of Starfield that you couldn't get from No Man's Sky? I'm genuinely being serious about it because I know
It,
you and Fox are
they're
the most
they're completely
excited
different
about it.
games, man. By the way.
Yeah, yeah. So like we've said, they're completely different, right? So one of the things that Bethesda does really really well is, although like I said, there is a quest line or a few quest lines and stuff in this game, that's not the entire focus, right? The main focus in a Bethesda title is the world that you're exploring, while grounded in all the stories that take place, right? So all the characters I'm going to meet, all the things they go through, all the potential factions I'm going to join, and the storylines that take place and unfold in a typical Bethesda like narrative. That's what excites me, right? All these characters and all these um, potential things that I'm going to get into. Um, and of course, it also has a completely different aesthetic, right? The other thing is also shipbuilding. There is no shipbuilding in No Man's Sky, which is actually one of the things I thought they would add throughout all these iterations. They never did. They came out with new ships and new types of ships and stuff, but they never added shipbuilding. You can improve your ship.
Mm-hmm.
You can improve the amount of capacity. You can improve the different weapons and all kinds of stuff, right? But it doesn't change the ship, is the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ship always looks the way it looks. So that's something that's super super exciting for me with that,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a big fan of the customization and stuff and the compartments you get to add in Starfield, and truly building all these different ships. Another thing is, of course, modding, because it's a single player game and it has no. And this is again, I love No Man's Sky for its multiplayer element and stuff, but this is also a limitation, right? In multiplayer, you can't have everybody modding stuff and going crazy because it's multiplayer and it needs to be persistent throughout everybody's world, right? So, removing that limitation, they could come out with the Star Trek Enterprise for all I know next week. You know what I mean? When the game launches, and somebody could mod that in and make it completely work and invent entire new systems grounded in the works within Starfield, which is also exciting because I've playing Bethesda games for so many years. I know how insane some people can really get. Like I'm talking like people have done developer level stuff. Um, just stuff like that is just really what excites me. Like you said, like the main story and stuff. When you've played them and you understand the story with like the Brotherhood of Steel, or the Nightingales and the Thieves and the Thieves Guild, and you know the hand. I forget the the Red Hand or whatever. The like the Assassins Guild and like all the things that take place within those things, and as you like rise up through the ranks and some of the stuff you take over and you become like the leader of shit that you didn't even know existed before, like that is where the story and the character development is typically where Bethesda really shines, right? um and over time, of course, they're already planning the first DLC and things of that nature, and then things will just expand and go from there, and it'll be a very different game um, than No Man's Sky, despite them both
Mm-hmm.
being,
Okay,
sci-fi. So yeah,
I
yeah.
got you.
So there's very different reasons to
Um,
be excited for both of them.
yeah. So shout out to C Fresh. He said
Yeah, the Dark
that's
Brotherhood.
right.
Yeah, he said it. That's what I was trying
Might
to get
try
out.
it out. So that's exciting to see another person play something up. I might also try No Man's Sky out.
Yeah, Morgan bought
I
it, so
remember.
you have access to
I
it.
I remember what I wanted to say, and I'm genuinely curious what you thought about is they they said that uh, Alan Wake 2 is not playing in the same universe as Control.
Hmm.
Any thought of that? Because if I remember correctly, I thought Control plays in the same universe as Alan Wake 1. Uh, but now with 2, they're very adamant that Control and Alan Wake don't share the same universe.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
I don't
I
know
don't
if they
know.
actually confirmed that. Yeah, I mean, it could be more of an Easter egg than actually stating they're directly connected. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean they both take place in the real world, but they might just be talking about like maybe potentially the same time frame they could be referring to. I don't know. They'd have to elaborate on that. But I mean, the games aren't interchangeable, so I mean that doesn't bother me one way or another.
Okay, so Morgan said that's not what they said. Then I misunderstood
Yeah,
it.
that's her game. I was like, she the specialist right there. You have to. I knew she could elaborate, but I
Oh
was like,
man,
it doesn't bother me either way.
Omar, not Omar spreading fake news.
With that being said, they said Control and Alan Wake are in the same universe.
Oh well,
Okay,
there you
then
go.
I genuinely misunderstood it. Thank you for the correction. And real talk, everyone, go play Control. Uh, don't worry, map atrocious, but the labyrinth sequence, uh, the music and the labyrinth sequence, one of the best moments I've had in gaming. And yeah,
Quantum
anyone
Break
have
wasn't in the
anything?
same universe. Well, thank God for that. That game was trash.
Oh, Quantum Break. Okay. No, I genuinely misunderstood that completely then. Thank you for correction. Yeah, no, Quantum Break wouldn't make sense. I know it's from the same developer, but still. Um, let's just,
We don't talk about the quantum break.
man, let's not. Thank you for the correction. I genuinely misunderstood it. Anyone have anything else to want to talk about?
No.
Okay. Very quick. One last thing, and I'm curious about you guys' opinion. Would you rather have a game that give you, let's say, 5 weapons, and every weapon, and one weapon is more powerful than the other? What does that prevent you from using a different weapon? Do you always go for power, or do you go for uniqueness? Do you go for speed? What's your main to go gameplay style? I'm curious.
I mean, I think that depends on what kind of game I'm playing.
Hmm.
Like, I mean,
Mm,
something like Assassin's Creed. I mean, I'm typically worried about my assassination level damage or whatever and focusing on being as quiet as possible and stealthy and typically speed if I do get caught of executing someone so that they can't alert anyone else. Uh, Other games I've played, I've focused on power and slamming shit to the ground or being a mage with massive explosions. It again, it just
mm,
depends on the game. Like my style's not one all, but I mean, if I played anything, most people would say I tend to play a magic build with you know tons of power or speed. It's usually the two, like a ninja like class or assassin type of class.
mm-hmm. Gotcha. Weep, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, so you mean distinct weapons, or because obviously, if we're talking, let's say, Final Fantasy, then 16 it doesn't you always go for power, but if they're
Well,
distinct,
16
uh,
didn't have a lot of weapons. Well, to be fair, 16 did have different skills that you can use.
yeah, yeah, but like I said, the weapon, the sword, yeah, you had more than five swords, but there wasn't really a choice there because you would always equip the one that has the best stats. So
Exactly.
there
Yeah,
no
yeah.
distinction there. But if there's distinction there, and if there's, let's say, a shooter or something, right? You know, where you have five guns. I mean, it also depends here on the gameplay because there are shooters where ammo is scarce, so therefore you have to switch it up to so you can't stick to one weapon, or where there's like Doom Eternal is a great example of a shooter where switching things up is definitely recommended, where different weapons are suitable for different enemies and different
Engagements.
encounters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. So that highly depends on the game. I mean, sure, power is definitely a powerful consideration because if you have to choose between a pea shooter and a shotgun that can kill an enemy in two shots, I mean, yeah, of course. But typically in those kind of games, shotgun ammo is, for example, very scarce, so you're not going to use that for your mob. So it highly depends on how the game is designed. Like if the game lets you just choose play with one weapon consistently and you don't have to switch another weapon, uh, then you have the option you to choose, and then you would say, okay, maybe the most powerful, or let's say the most fun. It kind of depends because if the game isn't
That
necessarily
that my
well,
pet peeve.
I mean, if the game is like, here's the thing, like I'm not gonna make it more difficult on myself, like going for more difficult
Interesting.
more difficulty, right? Because that's what you like to do. You know, don't upgrade anything, blah blah blah. You know,
I
but
mean, not
if
at all game, but yeah, I like to
yeah,
challenge myself.
but that's kind of like I wouldn't if it makes it frustrating, I wouldn't do that. But
Ah,
uh
okay.
if let's say it doesn't matter, right? If it doesn't matter what weapon you choose, then yeah, sure. You know, like shotguns, for example, are always fun in most shooters, so they're definitely better than using SMGs or pistols, right? So yeah, you know, then there are definitely weapons that, um, like if I go back to say the old school N64 games, like if you ever played Perfect Dark, like I love the far side weapon, right? The weapon that you could use to shoot through walls, where you had like that literally taken from that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, Eraser, where you had like a rail gun that had ability to sort of have X-ray vision, that kind of thing. That they copied that and put it in the game, but that was cool, especially in multiplayer. But also like a single player where you could just essentially just snipe somebody in the entire through the entire level because you could just zoom in through walls and hit them, and that's fun, right? Then I would go. Generally, you didn't have. I don't think you had like a lot of ammo there, but I generally just went out of my way to just use that weapon whenever I could. And yeah, if there's shooters where you have like those days you could every shooter had just like you could pick up all the weapons all the time. But nowadays it's typically that you only have two, and you have to choose. And there, um, yeah, I mean, power is a consideration, but it kind of depends on the game where there's like if you're playing a Resident Evil game, you have to conserve your Magnum ammo, for example, and keep that for probably the final boss. But if you're playing any other game, then yeah, I mean, I could be tempted to save the power weapons, but generally it makes more sense to pick up a weapon that has a lot of ammo and might be more fun to use, like a single shot weapon that can kill an enemy in one shot might be useful, for tough encounters, but it's not really fun to just constantly use that weapon for if for the typical mob enemies, right? So uh, fun is definitely a consideration, and sometimes it's not always power that's the say the best stat. Like anybody who's played any action RPG knows that it's not necessarily the most power that determines whether or not you do the most damage, because DPS, for example, is a consideration, right? If your weapon can do more damage in the same amount of time, even though its total damage output, say if it does 500 damage with one hit and another one does 1,000, but you can get in 3 hits in the same time you can get in with the other weapon that does 1,000 damage, then that 500 damage weapon is definitely the better weapon because you can just do
Exactly.
more damage in the same amount of time. And
Mm-hmm.
if it has like high critical or there's poison damage, stuff like that, those are all factors to consider. So it's not cut and dry to say that power is it the all determining stat, whether it's a better weapon. And like I said, if fun is also an aspect, like it has to be fun to keep using yeah, it's not always the most fun to use the like you can always use a rocket launcher in any shooter, but and it can be fun, but generally you also probably end up blowing yourself up half of the time.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. The reason why I asked it because, and this is a two-part question. It's because lots of the weapons that I love to use are either weak or they get nerfed heavily. And I'm like, developers, I'm playing a single player game. Why can't I have fun? I don't want to use a generic sword. I would rather use a whip or a buster or anything that's unique than a power that a sword that does shit ton of damage.
Mm,
And most of the time, the weapons that I do love get nerfed.
I mean, that's just going to depend on the developer. Like, I mean, I could tell
Yeah.
you firsthand. I mean, I automatically expect anything Blizzard develops that anything that is good is going to be nerfed in the first patch
Why? You're
because
playing a single
because
player game.
no, but
Because
but
they're-
that's how they are. Like because that's how
yeah.
they are with all their games. So they have World of Warcraft, which is multiplayer, which they do that on. But obviously, um, even though you can play, their game Diablo 4 single player, they're always considering builds in a multiplayer or co-op aspect. So like they're always going to adjust things or move things around the way they think they see fit, or they think something is too powerful, or this, that, and the third. But it doesn't mean they're wrong. They're not wrong though, because like I said, in their case, the backlash was so severe and so swift that they immediately not only reversed the patch, but then promised a string of buffs to a bunch of the characters to try and improve the damage. Um, but yeah, Why do developers essentially, some of them have this blindsided, weird, over sense of need of control. in which they like to get rid of the power fantasy, in which the player is supposed to be strong, or feel strong and have fun with whatever playstyle they want. I couldn't tell you. To me, that is a really weird thing. And I think some developers really get it. Like we talked about Borderlands over the years, like they let you go crazy. You could use the B shield and one shot everything, and just they left all the broken shit in the game and let you go crazy. And
There,
some
I,
devs get rid of everything.
I'd say that part of that might have to do with sort of monetization and stuff, right? That they uh, um, that there are games, which have microtransactions that kind of want to sort of entice you to get pay for better gear and stuff like that, so they don't want you to have too much fun and just decide not to buy it. I think, but that might also be a part of that, even if that's not a concern that they're um, sort of not necessarily want not want to have people have fun, but more like they're have some sort of professional um, standards or strive for perfection. That instead they lose sight of the fact that it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfectly balanced. Let people have fun. Let people use exploits and there's sort of some sort of even sort of some sort of elitism where they sort of decide that yeah, you know, I want you to play the game as I intended you to play it and not how you want to play it.
Yeah,
And that seems counterintuitive, but I mean it sort of at its core, every game you have to play it in the way developers want you to play it. But any developer can tell you that the first thing that will happen when you have playtests to play the game, they're going to do the exact opposite what you intended them to do. I mean that's inherent. That's why you have the tutorials. That's why you need to sometimes even use level design, right? Where if you want to point people towards the right direction, and you don't want to paint an arrow on the floor or something like that, you have to use level design. Like if you make a narrow corridor that sort of uh, gets smaller or tidier, as further you get in. That sort of is a visual cue that okay, yeah, that's the direction you need to go to, right? You need to go into the tunnel, towards the light, that kind of shit, right? So, yeah, that those are sort of the psychology of game development. Um, but kind of problem I think is here where and that's also inherent with. I mean, that's sort of the downside of what you said. Like there are some great examples of games that came out, uh, broken or at least less than perfect, and they got fixed and became great because of updates as time went along. But the dark side of that is that people can also ruin a perfectly fine game
exactly.
after it came out, and just they can't let good enough alone, right? The game was fine, it's fun, and then they said, yeah, people are having too much fun. People are not
Yep,
playing the
yep,
game
yep.
as we want. It's sort of a pride of developers, I guess, to the extent that that sort of over sort of supersedes the fact that and yet you're making an entertainment product. It has to be fun for people to play, and it's not about them. Actually, not like games can be art, but like let's face like a game like Diablo 4 is not art. That's a game that's meant to be entertaining. Like if we want to judge it as that, well, I mean, I got a story to tell you because that game doesn't have like a fantastic story or whatever. Like it's not it's not like said Last of Us levels or whatever game you want to put up there in terms of storytelling. And I'm not saying that that has to be the be all end all. I mean, but it's just like if you want to pretend that it's not about fun, because that to me is what Diablo games are. I mean, I'm not playing that for getting a super immersive story, despite the fact that cutscenes generally are interesting, but overall you're generally just left alone, explore. You can go into dungeons and beat enemies and get loot. That's the essential gameplay loop, and it has to be fun because if that turns into a grind that becomes like a chore, like what's the point in playing the game, right? Then it's just work, and that's kind of the problem that we see in this case, and yeah, you see in other games as well where uh, they're forgetting the fact that yeah, maybe work for you, but it shouldn't be work for the people that are buying this game because they're playing that to relax after a hard day of work.
Well, the other issue with developers and stuff nowadays is a lot of them take into consideration um, way too often streamers and people that play video games for a living, and
And
they're like, oh,
that
they broke
too.
the game or they beat the game in 5 seconds, and it's like, yeah, because that motherfucker does nothing but plays games, and it's like the rest of us got to go to work and take care of the family and pay bills and do all kinds of other shit. So that's
Mm-hmm.
another big problem, especially with stuff like Diablo, which is really multiplayer driven. Um, is that you run into these people who do nothing but constantly play the game and figure out ways to break the game and this, that, and the third. And developers start to design the game around them and how they play and like these super optimal settings for someone who put 700 hours in just a couple days, into a game versus, everyone else. And it's like, dude, everyone else is your priority, not the dude that makes 1.3 million a year playing games on Twitch. Like, so that's another fighting factor that you always got to contend with. And when games have
Yeah,
PvP, it gets even messier. Ugh, it's a bitch.
it is because as someone like, for example, me, I discover a new way of playing, of using my skill and my weapon and having a blast. And all of a sudden I find out this skill, this weapon that you love to use so much. Yeah, sorry man. You're having so much fun with the game. We can't let you that. We're gonna nerf it.
Yep.
I'm like, why? Why you have fun with killing my enjoyment of a game? And that's the end result, sadly. I
Yeah.
uh, I know podcast is all about podcasting and stuff like that, but this is for me is important because we all gamers and it affects us all. So I was genuinely curious if that's like a pet peeve for you guys, or that's a just me issue
Well, I
only.
mean, I especially hate when they do it in single player games because obviously there's no need. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the other problem was, like I said, I played Destiny for years. Like I played Destiny 1 the entire time, and then I eventually quit Destiny 2. But a big problem with Destiny 2 is they needed two separate systems. They needed damage, like damage numbers and performance for PvE, and they needed damage numbers and performance for PvP, player versus player, because constantly the balancing they would do to the game was for PvP, and then it would affect and make a gun that used to be really good in PvE shitty because they changed it because the gun was too good in PvP. So like shit like that was also super annoying. When games like that have two systems, they need to make sure they separate the systems so that one doesn't affect the other.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another factor.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's about it.
With that being said, that was the final topic, mini topic. Let's get to our outro. Where we can find you?
You can find me on Twitter because I refuse to call it anything else but Twitter, as the Weep Sheriff at Infinite Rhizome, and I guess you can find me around here as well on YouTube and Other Nation.
Gotcha. And Nate, where we will find you?
Yeah, on Twitter, at the real Nate, as usual, keeping it gaming, and apparently next week, Friday, flying a starship. So there we go.
Oh yeah. As for me, next week, none other than Sea of Stars. Looking forward for that one. Um, Shout out to Morgan. She was on here. I have no idea where Viper is. I have the feeling he went to sleep. As for me, people can find me in Carbon Job on Twitter and Vitamin G podcast every Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This was a good show, despite the fact the amount of the lack of topics, real talk. It's almost like dry, and I'm curious if we're gonna hear anything CMA related next week. But hey, let's just focus on the only thing that matters. Console war, I'm joking, gaming. That's what it all should be about, gaming. And yeah, you can end it in a shout out to you for hosting it.
Yep. And yeah, again, one time, the ladies ain't here, so Otter Nation.